Chapter 1958. Riaz didn't understand politics. Although he was the prince of the underwater city, he was forced to do something beyond his ability. Although Riaz also had the hope to make the underwater city better and was willing to work hard to achieve this goal, time didn't wait for him. He still lacked enough time to grow. But Lyogo was here, which made Riaz feel more at ease. This witch of the underwater city, as the shadow of Louis XXXIX, had ruled the underwater city for a long time. She was also the princess of the Siren clan, so she did have enough capital to participate in the political process. Of course, the underwater city didn't know much about the human kingdom on the surface, not to mention the complicated relationship between the transcendents on the surface. The Kelowna administration was the first transcendent organization that the underwater city chose to officially contact with the humans on the surface. But now, it seemed that the Kelowna administration was also turbulent in the undercurrent. Lyogo was even keenly aware that Huang Chuan, who took her and Riaz away this time, and Yin Xiaoxi, who received her at that time, didn't belong to the same faction. But it was unknown how far apart these two different factions were. Through the collar on her neck, Lyogo was patiently analyzing these things for Riaz. He silently noted it down and waited to slowly joke about it later. From now on, just follow my instructions and tell them what I say. Me? But can't you just say it yourself? Why do you have to go through me? Idiot! You are the prince of the underwater city. You are the leader of the contact between the underwater city and the humans on the surface. Of course, these things should be done by you. What's more, I am now your fiancé. If I do everything, what will the humans on the surface think of you? What's the matter? You're more proficient in these things than me. Whoever can do it will do it. Isn't the underwater city like this? Idiot. Trash. Idiot. I'm so angry. Anyway, just follow what I say. Do you understand? Okay. Now, if this Gong Sun She doesn't take the initiative to speak, you don't say anything and just watch TV. Oh, what a blockhead. But right now, Gong Sun Jishui didn't seem to have any intention of taking the initiative to speak. Huang Chuan was standing behind him. This private reception room was abnormally quiet. Suddenly, Gong Sun Jishui said slowly, "Prince Riaz, is this your first time walking on land?" "Yes, it's the first time." Riaz nodded subconsciously. He then coughed lightly and said, "The human civilization on the surface is really good. So many different countries can coexist peacefully." Gong Sun Jishui said calmly, "Prince Riaz probably doesn't know that this so-called coexistence is more of an illusion. They're only focusing on the economy and culture. There are not many places where barbaric invasions still happen in the modern era." Riaz smiled and said, "Isn't that good?" Gong Sun Shui said casually, "Compared to the barbaric era of the past, this era is indeed better. But with the collective appearance of all the supernatural forces in the world, what will happen in the future is unknown." Just as Riaz was about to speak, Lyogo's voice buzzed in his mind. Lyogo wanted him to show a meaningful smile first. God knows how to smile meaningfully, huh? I've never practiced this before, okay? Riaz resisted the urge to roll his eyes and forced a smile. "Since Mr. Gong Sun is here, shouldn't you already have a certain view of the future? Prince Riaz is straightforward." Gong Sun Jishui chuckled. "Since that's the case, let's get straight to the point. Prince Riaz, do you know what the ultimate goal of this transcendent conference is?" Riaz showed a smile again. Lyogo taught him this again. Gong Sun Jishui said, "They hope to find a path where supernatural beings and humans can coexist." Riaz suddenly said, "Does Mr. Gong Sun know about Miss Bright Red?" Gong Sun Jishui was startled. He frowned and thought for a while before saying, "From the name, it seems to be the nickname of a supernatural being." Riaz smiled casually and said, "Miss Bright Red is what we call them in the underwater city. On the ground, they should be called Miss Bright Red or something like that. They aren't supernatural beings like you think. They are just a very ordinary soft-shell class creature." Gong Sun Jishui frowned. Riaz continued, "Ordinary people usually call Miss Bright Red by another name, cleaning shrimp." Gong Sun Jishui frowned even more. Riaz smiled and said, "Miss Bright Red, likes to climb into eels' open mouths and search for food from their sharp teeth. Logically speaking, they can easily become eels' food. But in fact, that's not the case. Eels are some fish that have a lot of microbes on their bodies and can't clean them up themselves. Welcome, Miss Bright Red's arrival. Gongsun Jishui instantly understood the meaning of Riaz's words. He felt that this Prince Riaz should be a guy who didn't know anything. His face still had a childish look. This couldn't be fooled. But now, it seemed that he had indeed fooled someone. So, Prince Riaz seems to be inclined to the path of the coexistence of transcendence and humans. Riaz said calmly, I believe that the agency should have seen some of the information we provided about the underwater city. In the underwater city, demon energy has long been integrated into the daily lives of the residents. We didn't resist the danger brought by the powerful power of demon energy. This is a kind of technology that can be mastered by the people of the underwater city. Gongsun Jishui shook his head and said, Transcendents are different. Transcendents aren't easy to be controlled by anyone. Instead, it's easier for them to be controlled. Riaz smiled and said, Maybe you don't know, but the birth of demon energy was only in the hands of a very small number of people in the underwater city. Gongsun Jishui said calmly, The selflessness of the ancestors of the underwater city is really admirable. Riaz said, Mr. Gongsun, your tribe has been silently guarding the deep sea for thousands of years, not letting the sea monster tribe have a chance to land. It's also admirable. Gongsun Jishui smiled. The young prince of the underwater city in front of him made him feel like he was dealing with an old fox. He smiled and said, I admit that some transcendents can't easily leave humans and live alone. Humans are too unpredictable, and their cognition can change all the time. Also, humans are creatures that like to regret. I don't know if Prince Riaz has ever thought about it. If the sea monster tribe in the deep sea wants to coexist with you, but proposes to live in your underwater city, would your people agree? Riaz looked at Gongsun Jishui without blinking. After a while, he slowly said, In fact, I've never thought about this problem. Gongsun Jishui said calmly, Your Highness, it's not too late to think about it now. Riaz shook his head and said, There's no need to think about it now. The sea monster tribe has disappeared, and from now on, there won't be any more sea monster tribe. So, our underwater city doesn't need to think about this problem anymore. Gongsun Jishui couldn't help but be slightly moved and said subconsciously, The sea monster tribe disappeared? Riaz chuckled and said indifferently, About half a month ago, the Siren tribe was completely destroyed by His Majesty the 39th Emperor of Undersea City with his troops. Now, there are no more sea monster tribe in the deep sea. Gongsun Jishui was silent. Riaz narrowed his eyes and said, This is one of the reasons why we dare to go to the land at this time. The sea monster tribe wants to go to the land and has been fighting with your tribe for thousands of years. But now it's no longer necessary. Your nobles don't need to guard the deep sea to prevent the invasion of the sea monster tribe. And this is the greatest sincerity that our underwater city brings to contact the humans on the land. Destroying the sea monster tribe naturally wasn't because of this sincerity. The reason why Louis XXXIX destroyed the sea monster tribe was just to gather the number of black balls. But at this time, regarding this matter, Lu Gu just casually used it and said it as nicely as possible. Riaz himself felt very guilty when he said the shameless words of this kind of politician. But Gongsun Jishui didn't know this. The destruction of the sea monster tribe and the impact of this matter on the Xianyuan Palace was indeed something that Gongsun Jishui couldn't speculate at once. But if there was no threat of the deep sea monster invasion, the Xianyuan Palace didn't need to guard the deep sea for generations and was freed from the fate of this generation. This is indeed the greatest sincerity. Gongsun Jishui said calmly, It doesn't matter whether Prince Riaz can reach an agreement with us or not. For this sincerity, I represent the people who sacrificed in the deep-sea battlefield to give His Highness and the underwater city the greatest respect. Please accept my bow. As Gongsun Jishui spoke, he actually stood up and deeply bowed in front of Riaz. These 2 days Riaz had been surfing the sea, so he knew that this gesture was indeed the greatest respect for the people of Kelowna. Riaz couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Gongsun, do you have any relatives or friends who sacrificed in the Deep Sea War? My parents died in a large-scale invasion of the Sea Demon clan 300 years ago." Gong Senjishui looked quite calm at this moment. Now that the sea monster tribe has been destroyed, their souls in heaven have been comforted. Riaz didn't say anything. He just lightly nodded. This was his own private action, which instantly caused Lyoga to scream crazily. Gong Senjishui pondered for a moment and suddenly said, "It seems that I chose an inappropriate time to meet you, Prince Riaz." "Why do you say that?" Riaz asked curiously. Gong Senjishui said indifferently, "Perhaps, for Prince Riaz, the best time for us to meet is after you know more about the nature of the humans on the surface." Riaz tilted his head. Gong Senjishui said, "The humans on the surface will tell you a truer answer than me. Prince Riaz, I'm very happy to meet you today." "Oh," Riaz asked in confusion. "Mr. Gongsun, don't you plan to continue to discuss the matter at the beginning with me?" "I was a bit rash," Gong Senjishui said indifferently. "I admit that this time I don't know enough about Undersea City. So, let's give both sides more time. Prince Riaz, I look forward to the next meeting with you. As long as you are willing, just inform Huang Chuan." According to Lyoga's instructions, Riaz responded with a smile instead. "There's one more thing," Gong Senjishui suddenly said. "I hope that our meeting today will be a meeting that no one knows about. After Huang Chuan, according to the original agenda, Prince Riaz will appear." Riaz smiled and said, "Undersea City brought the greatest good and evil to the surface world this time. We won't cause any unnecessary trouble for ourselves." Gong Senjishui nodded at this time and waved his hand. Huang Chuan quickly arranged for people to take Riaz and Lyoga away and send them back to the lounge where they were waiting. This prince is quite good at acting. Soon after, Huang Chuan came back and sat directly opposite Gong Senjishui. He frowned and said, "I underestimated him and thought he was just a kid. It's the woman beside him who is not simple." Gong Senjishui suddenly shook his head. "The woman beside him?" Huang Chuan frowned. "She looks more like a barbaric girl, and I have been paying attention to this girl just now, but I didn't find anything strange about her. We still know too little about Undersea City." Gong Senjishui shook his head, "Especially magic energy technology." Huang Chuan thought for a while and said, "You just let them go like this today. Are you really not afraid that they will expose the meeting with you? Aren't you too impulsive? If it were me, if they didn't agree, I would never let them leave this room. You are too soft-hearted." Gong Senjishui coldly glanced at Huang Chuan until this square-faced man's eyes faintly flickered. Then he said indifferently, "Let's not talk about whether they will expose the meeting or not. Even if they do, it doesn't matter. Letting them go today is just a show of respect." "Respect?" Huang Chuan sneered. Gong Senjishui said expressionlessly, "It is for the generations of Gongsun family members of Xianyuan Palace who died in the deep sea. You don't understand." He indeed didn't understand because he was a monster. Chapter 1959. Finally, the Magician Association is an organization dedicated to maintaining the peace and coexistence of various races in the inhuman realm. This will be a great cause for us and our descendants. At the same time, we also pray that this concept of coexistence can blossom in the modern world. Thank you, everyone. The vampire girl faced the camera and bowed deeply. Then, under the arrangement of the staff, she slowly walked off the stage and returned to the seat of the Magician Association. This time, the two Tower Masters didn't go on stage. Instead, they gave the opportunity to speak to the vampire girl. This seemed to have been decided long ago, so when she went on stage, Elizabeth didn't panic too much. It wasn't easy for the vampire girl to speak calmly in front of so many transcendent representatives, not to mention the audience from all over the world. Although she looked weak, she didn't do anything wrong. As soon as she returned to her seat, Zhong Luoyue gave her a gentle hug. Miss Elizabeth wasn't afraid of appearing in front of the camera, so she always wore a silver half mask. "You have a lot of fans now," Jean Luoyue suddenly chuckled. Huh. The vampire girl tilted her head and showed a puzzled look. Jean Luoyue took out her phone, and the screen was showing the live broadcast. Love, love. This is my new wife. Come on, a new organization is born. We are now Chefy. Why, Elizabeth? For the birth of a new queen, I offer my children. Looking at the dense bullet screen that covered the screen, the vampire girl was dumbfounded. She was at a loss as to what to do. Huh? Is this what's going on? Jean Luoyue chuckled and stroked his hair. It's simple. Those who came up to report were either middle-aged uncles or dark-skinned uncles. Although they weren't all short and ugly, there were still many who weren't up to the mark. So far, you're the only young and cute girl, so the audience's impression is naturally different. Also, the cute vampire girl probably has an attribute bonus. I don't think so. I just want to do the job that the Tower Master gave me. The girl lowered her head and muttered. It doesn't matter what you think. Jean Luoyue smiled and said, in short, you are completely popular. From now on, in the eyes of the world, you are the face of the Magician Association. The little girl immediately covered her little face and sat down. I don't know if Brother Luo is also watching the live broadcast. However, such a shy action also appeared in the eyes of the world at the same time. Thus, an even crazier wave of bullet screens directly covered the entire screen. Unless they were blocked, they couldn't be watched. Onto the stage. I've miscalculated. We don't have a female member this time. Lon is the most beautiful woman of our tribe. She is a black pearl given by God. Go, let the world marvel at the Creator's love for you. F***. Is it too late for me to dress as a woman now? Our Taoist faction hasn't recruited any new female disciples recently. Lavinia, I have a fallen angel-made suit that I have kept for a long time. Yin, do you want to do it too? The atmosphere at the venue seemed to gradually change. The originally boring morning report suddenly became lively. That's right, because the Magician Association elected a vampire girl to the stage this time. Time had unknowingly arrived at noon. Finally, it ended with a relatively unknown and mysterious speech. The intermission was more to allow people to digest the information in a short period of time. The lunchboxes prepared for this conference are surprisingly good. Lizzie was eating her third lunchbox. Even during the intermission, the media could only stay in the media area. They were not allowed to leave the venue until the end of this afternoon's conference. Sister Ren, aren't you eating? What are you doing? I'm chatting with Elizabeth's official account. Annie Ren said suddenly. Lizzie and Old Q widened their eyes at the same time. Old Q said in disbelief, Whose official account? The girl from the Magician Association who claims to be a vampire. Annie Ren smiled at this time. You didn't expect it, right? I didn't expect it either. After Elizabeth's speech, the Magician Association immediately entered a large number of popular online interactive platforms and opened an account. They're still doing a live broadcast during the intermission. Really? Lizzie grabbed Annie Ren's phone in surprise. Followers 10, 1 million, 100,000, 1 million, more than 7 million followers? Because everyone is watching a live stream, the popularity is rising fast, but it will probably slow down soon. Ren Xiling clicked her tongue and said, but speaking of which, this cute girl is really lethal. Although I don't know what the other groups are like, the Magician Association is obviously the one who ate the soup. This association doesn't seem to be a group of masters who don't care about worldly affairs. I suspect that there must be a very smart person behind them. Lizzie suddenly raised her phone at this time and took a picture of Annie Ren. What are you doing? Xiling's mother asked puzzledly. I'm also opening an account for you. Lizzie smiled at this time. Let's play. Stop fooling around. Auntie Ren suddenly rolled her eyes and grabbed her phone back. I'm going to draw a prize in Elizabeth's live broadcast room. If I win, I can be selected for the Magician Association's special interview list tonight. You guys are not idle. Hurry up and come to the live broadcast room. I need money to send gifts. I don't have money. Old Q looked at the sky at this time. Even so, Lizzie and Old Q still followed the official account that the Magician Association operated for Elizabeth under Annie Ren's authority and sent a small flower as a token. They each had their own individual resting room. Although the morning meeting was relatively dull for them, the transcendent representatives who returned to their own resting rooms were not relaxed at all. Reaction. The world's reaction to the transcendent society would be reflected in this short morning's live broadcast meeting. Although this meeting was launched relatively suddenly, it gave the transcendent enough time to prepare. Before coming to the Forbidden City, it was believed that the transcendent representatives had brought some of the intentions behind their respective groups. In short, it's necessary to establish a positive image first. In the resting room of the Magician Association, Zhong Luoyue didn't seem to be afraid even when facing the two Tower Masters, Red Flame and Ice. She said slowly, "The association has existed for a long time in the European world and has more or less unknown connections with the major royal families and governments. We actually don't need to care too much about the public opinion in the European world. The Radiance Tower Master wants to establish a magician academy and let it be the cradle of the new generation of magicians. Therefore, we don't only need to recruit students in the European world, we also need to set our sights on the whole world. Elizabeth, it's enough for us to achieve this effect in the early stage. Generally speaking, the magician's inheritance is chosen by the teacher with potential." The Ice Tower Master muttered, "But this kind of inheritance also has its drawbacks. It's very difficult for a teacher to truly find all of his students. In these hundreds and thousands of years of history, many secret magic techniques disappeared precisely because there were no inheritors. In the end, it's because there are too few good students. The Radiance Tower Master hopes to bring the foundation to the world and let the world have a chance to understand the mystery of magic. Only in this way can we awaken more talented people with magic skills. Therefore, I agree with your approach. The association style is indeed conservative and old-fashioned, but in this era, we need new thinking and action like you. What you want to do next, as long as it's not too out of line, I'll give you enough support. You don't have to worry. Thank you for your support, Ice Tower Master. I'll do this job well." Zhong Luoyue nodded slowly. The Red Flame Tower Master suddenly stood up. "Stop! What do you want to do?" The Ice Tower Master frowned and said in a low voice, "You want to find Stella, right?" The Red Flame Tower Master snorted coldly. "If I don't beat this guy up, I'll never be able to get rid of this anger. There's no meeting right now, and there's no live broadcast. Don't stop me. I'll settle this matter privately and won't bring shame to the association." After saying that, the Red Flame Tower Master pushed open the door and left, ignoring his wife's cold expression. This guy is really angry. Other than the Radiance Tower, no one can hold him back. The Ice Tower Master laughed bitterly, then looked at Zhong Luoyue and said, "You, see if you can contact the church. It's also fine through the administration. Let them do as they see fit. See if they should avoid him or something. Just be careful with your words. Stella likes to hear nice words." Ice Tower Master, are you very familiar with this Stella representative from the church? Zhong Luoyue thought for a while and said, "I don't have any intention of prying into his privacy. I just want to clarify some things. Maybe it'll be better to handle the relationship between the two sides. It's all in the past." The Ice Tower Master said indifferently, "When you're young, who doesn't have a few friends? Okay, just do as I say. I'm tired, I want to rest." Saying this, the Ice Tower Master rubbed the space between her eyebrows and entered her room with a tired expression. At this moment, Elizabeth suddenly ran over excitedly and put the phone in front of Zhong Luoyue. There are many comments below asking me to check his account. What does that mean? Let me do it." Zhong Luoyue took the phone and rubbed the little girl's head, saying, "Although this account is under your name, the account doesn't really belong to you. It actually belongs to the association. I'll manage it for you. Don't worry." Isn't this lying to the people who follow me? Anyway, they only like your skin." Zhong Luoyue said indifferently, "And your skin is the one I drew. It's the skin that matches the ideal appearance that they like. But I feel that it's not good." The vampire girl shook her head. Zhong Luoyue chuckled and said, "As a new idol, if you can't meet their expectations, it's really not good. It'll hurt more people. I feel that it's a twisted logic. But You won't hurt me. I know. The vampire girl nodded and then stuttered. I want a private account that belongs to me. Can I want to show my face. I just want to record some happy things and share them with others. This others, is it really others? Jean Louis said with a faint smile. No. Okay. I'll get you a private account later. Jean Louis patted her little head. You go and rest first. I'll see if I can contact the church. Scarlet Blaze Tower Master. There won't be any problems, right? Elizabeth said worriedly at this time. That's hard to say. Jean Louis smiled bitterly. She had always been highly educated, but the accumulation of the past was always insufficient in the world of transcendence and inhumans. She could only force herself to grow all the time. Logically speaking, Kelowna's Taoist sect was a whole, and Kelowna's Monster Clan Alliance was also a whole. They all attended this meeting as a group. But at this time, as one of the giants of the Monster Clan Alliance, the Purple Star Young Master of the Greedy Wolf Clan was not brought along by the patriarchs of the four spirit clans. This is too much. These four spirit clans actually don't put us, the Greedy Wolf Clan, in their eyes. They actually refuse to meet us. Young Master, are we just going to let it go like this? The Purple Star Young Master, who was rejected, and the two Greedy Wolf Clan warriors who came with him were talking in the corridor at this time. The four spirit clans have gathered, but they ignored the Greedy Wolf Clan. The Purple Star Young Master muttered at this time. They may be planning something. This time, City Lord Shao did not attend. In the Monster Clan Alliance, the Greedy Wolf Clan's right to speak is probably even less. The Greedy Wolf Clan warrior next to him said indignantly, It's a pity that young Master Zhuifeng hasn't really grown up yet. Greedy Wolf Star, Greedy Wolf Star. Every time the Greedy Wolf Star rises, our Greedy Wolf Clan will completely suppress the four spirit clans. Damn it, if only we had more time. Being able to let the Greedy Wolf Star appear again in this era is already a gift to our clan. The Purple Star Young Master shook his head. We don't have enough time, and the same goes for other clans. It depends on who can save more time. At this moment, a man wearing an agent's ID from the agency suddenly walked towards them. The agent didn't stop. He just hurriedly said hello and walked away quickly. He seemed to be very busy. At this moment, the Greedy Wolf Tribe warrior frowned. He quickly picked up something from the ground. It was a piece of paper. Young Master, this is... The warrior handed the note to Purple Star and said with a frown, It feels like he deliberately left it behind. Purple Star glanced down, and her expression changed slightly. This is... She crumpled the note in an instant and pondered about something. Immediately, she whispered quickly, Come with me to see the Dragon God. Now, whether it's true or not, but there's no time to lose. Intermission, there's no show to watch. Bebe, I'm hungry. What do you want to eat for lunch? I'll go and prepare, Bebe said quickly at this time. Mr. Jean suddenly said at this time, There's no need to prepare for me. I'm going out. I'll be back before the afternoon meeting. With that said, Mr. Jean mysteriously climbed out of the underground workshop and left alone from the back door of the second-hand electrical appliance shop. Chapter 1960. Don't stay here. Don't take photos. What are you doing? Outside the venue of the summit meeting, several security guards swarmed over at this time, looking very nervous. And the target was only an elegant middle-aged man who was taking photos with a camera, a fierce-looking young man, and a child. Although they didn't look dangerous, this young man was really fierce. He was the kind of person who would raise his hands and lie on the wall when patrolling in Hong Kong movies. We're leaving right away. We just want to take a few photos. We'll leave right away. The elegant middle-aged man said politely at this time, Take out your documents and let us have a look. At this time, the elegant middle-aged man took out his ID without saying anything. As for the fierce-looking young man, although he looked impatient, he also took out his documents under the middle-aged man's request, tourist visa. Japanese? Several security guards frowned. Sightseeing? That's right. I'm a manga artist. I'm here to collect some inspiration and see if I can inspire something new. The elegant middle-aged man maintained his smile. Manga artist? One of the security guards frowned at this moment and then looked at the name marked on the documents. He suddenly exclaimed, You're Mr. Che-Tion, it's really you. He rushed to the middle-aged man. I've been watching your fighter series since I was a child. That's my honor. The middle-aged man, Mr. Che-Tion, replied with a smile. Just as he was about to say something, the ferocious young man beside him suddenly flashed to the back of the security personnel and quickly chopped at the back of their necks. Several security personnel on the ground immediately fell to the ground. Mr. Che-Tion couldn't help but look at the fierce young man in surprise. Mr. Suzuki, what are you doing? The young man, Natsuya Suzuki, sneered. Don't you want to go in? How can you go in with these guys blocking your way? You can go in now. Teacher Che-Tion couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he said helplessly, it seems that Mr. Suzuki is quite straightforward in his actions. Natsuya Suzuki shrugged and then picked up the kid beside him and then came to Mr. Che-Tion. Get ready. Ready for what? Natsuya Suzuki didn't say anything and then grabbed the back of Mr. Che-Tion's collar and then slightly bent his legs and jumped. In the next moment, they were on the roof of the Summit meeting building, and the view suddenly became very broad. Suzuki chuckled and said, well, now that you're here, it's not a problem for you to run wild in there. But I'm only responsible for protecting you. If you want to kill someone, I'll charge you extra. Mr. Suzuki is surprisingly reliable. Mr. Che-Tion couldn't help but shake his head. He did intend to record this extraordinary meeting, but the Forbidden City brought him a lot of inconveniences. However, Natsuya Suzuki's appearance made up for this inconvenience, but also brought him even more inconveniences. Do whatever he wants? What should he use to fight against all the extraordinary organizations in the world? It was a very troublesome thing to do. Let's see if there's a more peaceful way, Mr. Che-Tion said with a wry smile. Natsuya Suzuki directly said that it was simple. He would just run around and knock out everyone he met, making sure that they wouldn't even have time to call for backup. This was the most peaceful way. Apart from this, the only other way was to tear down the building and kill everyone. Mr. Che-Tion felt that something was wrong. He couldn't help but ask Natsuya Suzuki if he wasn't afraid that all the extraordinary people in the world would join forces. Natsuya Suzuki said that he wasn't afraid. It was just a group fight. It wasn't like he hadn't done it before. He could easily take on 10 people and so on. Even if he couldn't win in the end, he could just run away. He was familiar with this business, and he could definitely run away to give the other party the illusion that they had won. Mr. Suzuki, what did you do in the past? I told you. Natsuya Suzuki said grumpily. I help people collect debts. I'm a professional debt collector. Occasionally, I work part-time as a bodyguard. Of course, if there's a need, I'll take on the job of an assassin. How carefree, Mr. Che-Tion sighed and said, I think if we're careful, there shouldn't be a problem. Besides, no one would expect that there are people in the Forbidden City who aren't affected and can use extraordinary power. Natsuya Suzuki shrugged. Do I have to tell you that this Forbidden City was originally created by my new boss? He really wanted to blurt out this sentence, but just as he had this thought in his mind, he suddenly shuddered. Natsuya Suzuki couldn't help but look at the sky in awe. Then, he fell silent. Mr. Che-Tion didn't seem to notice Natsuya Suzuki's uneasiness. He just looked at the structure of the building's rooftop, as if he was looking for a way down. There seems to be a staircase over there. Let's go down and take a look. Then, why are you looking for me? Kelowna's Shinryu naturally had a private lounge. There were several agents from the administration guarding outside the lounge to prevent any disturbances. But after all, they were visiting the young master of the Greedy Wolf clan, and Consultant Long had personally agreed to it. Even if it was taboo, the agents couldn't say anything. After all, if they offended Consultant Huiyun, at most, their salary would be deducted. But if they offended Consultant Long, how could they run away? If they want to clean the toilet, it would be at least 3 years. But they only allowed Madame Purple Star to enter alone. The remaining 2 warriors of the Greedy Wolf clan could only wait outside. At this time, Zixing looked at Long Shaw, who had only eaten less than a third of the boxed lunch on the table, and suddenly said, Master Longjun, how can I be sure that you are the real Master Longjun? Long Shaw was drinking ice beer at this time to relieve the heat. She blinked and said subconsciously, What do you mean by whether I am? Wait, what do you mean by that? At this time, Purple Star said slowly, "It's nothing, I just suddenly thought of a problem. Although we are in a forbidden city, the use of all our powers is restricted, but techniques, physics, and technology are not restricted. With the current technology of mankind, it should not be difficult to change a person's appearance." Kelowna's Shinryu suddenly frowned. Madame Purple Star said indifferently, "Generally speaking, if we want to distinguish the identity of a person, it is more by sensing the other party's aura. The appearance can be changed, but things like aura are not so easy to change. However, in this environment where aura can't be sensed, it seems that it has become quite difficult for us to confirm that a person is the original person. Speak human language." Kelowna's Shinryu said indifferently, "I'm not interested in listening to you talk about philosophical issues here. Are you suspecting that I am an imposter? Master Long Shirua should also suspect me." Madame Purple Star suddenly said, "You little girl." Kelowna's Shinryu suddenly opened his mouth, then shook his head and said, "Is it because you were caught as a greedy wolf when you were young, and you lost the beautiful childhood that a young girl should have, so your brain is damaged? Do you want me to introduce a few marriages for you, so that when you become a love-struck fool, and then become normal?" Master Long Shirua, Madame Purple Star said coldly, "If I say that there may be an imposter in the current summit venue, and this imposter is probably planning something unspeakable, what will you think?" Kelowna's Shinryu frowned at once, and said solemnly, "What do you know?" "I don't know anything." Madame Purple Star sighed at this time. "It's just that I can't be sure of anything now. This note was quietly sent to me by someone. After Master Long Shirua reads the content inside, you will understand why I asked you these questions." Long Shirua took the note and glanced at it quickly. Kelowna's Shinryu suddenly stood up at this time and said angrily, "These guys." She quickly calmed down, holding the note in her hand, and said seriously, "Who else knows about this matter besides you and me?" Madame Purple Star said indifferently, "I think it is more appropriate to let Master Long Shirua know about this matter at the moment. To be honest, I don't trust the current Kelowna authority." Long Shirua suddenly sneered, "Aren't you afraid that I am the one you are worried about in your heart? If someone can really replace Master Long Shirua, then no matter how worried I am, I'm afraid it will be useless." Madame Purple Star smiled slowly. "Kelowna, I'm afraid you can only resign yourself to fate. Kelowna's life is also yours," Long Shirua said coldly. "I will listen to Master Long Shirua's instructions," Madame Purple Star said slowly. Firecloud, Evil God, was also eating boxed lunches. These boxed lunches were all prepared by the respected senior in the authority, who was called Uncle Da in the martial arts world. The taste was secondary. The most important thing was that those who received Uncle Da's box lunches would have good luck. Not good, not good. Stella and Scarlet Blaze Tower's owner are fighting in the washroom. Firecloud, Evil God, spat out a mouthful of white rice onto the face of the agent, who ran in hastily. He subconsciously wiped the oil on the corner of his mouth. Who are you talking about fighting?" "Father Stella from the church and Scarlet Blaze Tower's owner from the Magician Association. They are fighting in the washroom right now. They can't be stopped at all." Firecloud, Evil God, smiled bitterly. "I knew that those two fellows wouldn't let it go so easily, but I didn't expect them to start fighting so soon. Consultant, our people are trying to pull them away, but with their identities, it's not good for us to... Who's watching over them now?" Firecloud, Evil God, frowned. "Who said that eating Uncle Da's box lunches would have good luck? I ate 2 of them. I'm full." "Vice Section Chief Huang Chuan is currently mediating," the agent quickly said. Firecloud, Evil God, thought for a while and said, "I understand. I'll go and see what's going on now. Also, try to keep the representatives of the various diplomatic missions quiet." "Calm down. Everyone calm down." In the washroom on the first floor, a few agents from the administration were holding on to Stella and Scarlet Blaze Tower's owner, desperately trying to separate them. But even though they were holding on to the two from behind, the two still intertwined their legs. "Stella, if I don't beat you up today, Scarlet Blaze, won't play with fire for the rest of my life. Come on, come if you dare. I'm a very magnanimous person, At most, I'll let you walk your dick on the spot. Come on. Shouting. The two of you. Please calm down. A brawny man with a square face shouted in a deep voice. One of you is the owner of the Magician Association. The other is the representative leader of the church. How can you be so unruly? What the F***ck are you doing? You dare to meddle in my, Stella's matters. The church, have over 2 billion followers in the world. Each of them can drown you with a mouthful of saliva. Father Stella continued to shout. You want to teach me a lesson? Tell your biggest one to come here. This is Kelowna. It's not your church's territory. The brawny man with a square face, Huang Chuan, glared at him. It's not your turn to be impudent. You're F***king bullsh**. Father Stella directly cursed. You don't look like a good person, although you have an honest square face. Maybe you're a rotten B*****. When I look at you, I think you're a F***king traitor. A traitor. Tell me, what bad things have you done? Do you like old men's butts, or do you like old men looking at your butts? For the sake of the blind God, if you come to my church to repent, I'll give you a few small cards for free to purify your body. If you say my name, Stella, I'll even break your bones. You're welcome. The veins on Huang Chuan's forehead seemed to jump up at this time, and his clenched fists couldn't help shaking. He sneered. I heard that the former warden of Godly Might Prison can make the enemy retreat with only his stinky mouth. Today I see that you really live up to your reputation. You're really stinky. Stinky as you are. Stella's identity said at this time. You're a F***king beep. You're a F***king mouth. Stella. Huang Chuan glared at him at this time, rushing to Stella in an instant, grabbing Stella's collar with one hand and lifting him up. This is Kelowna. No matter who you are, you'd better sit down obediently. What happened? The voice of Fire Cloud, evil god, came suddenly at this time. Everyone made way, and Fire Cloud, evil god, was approaching with a gloomy face. Huang Chuan, what are you doing? Is this how you treat your guests? Consultant. Huang Chuan snorted and shook off Stella directly. Unexpectedly, Stella said at this time, You're right to come. I suspect that this guy is betraying. This is a traitor. I have evidence. Huang Chuan's face changed slightly in an instant. Chapter 1961. I have evidence. Father Stella's voice echoed inside and outside the restroom, unusually loud. At this time, even the Scarlet Blaze Tower's master, who was burning with anger, couldn't help but be startled after hearing it, and put down his clenched fist. Everyone was silent because of Father Stella's words, and subconsciously looked at Huang Chuan. The face of the vice section chief of the administration couldn't help but change slightly at this time, and then he sneered. Humph. Do you think we'll believe you just because you're spouting nonsense here, Stella? Bah. Who's with you? Who wants you to believe me? You still have the nerve to talk about us? Stinking shameless traitor. Traitor. Serves you right to be called a traitor. What are you looking at? I'm talking about you. Father Stella shamelessly snorted at this time. I said, I have evidence. What evidence do you have? Fire Cloud, evil god, suddenly asked at this time. In an instant, Huang Chuan frowned and said, Consultant, do you really believe this madman's words? You also saw at the meeting today how stinky this Stella's mouth is. This guy is clearly here to cause trouble. Fire Cloud, evil god, waved his hand at this time, indicating that Huang Chuan shouldn't speak, and then he walked in front of Stella and said with a smile, Mr. Stella, you said you have evidence of Huang Chuan's betrayal in your hands. Can you please show it to me? Why should I show it to you? Father Stella turned his face at this time and saw a female agent with the administration's ID outside the restroom door, and he instantly smiled and said, It's okay to show it to the young lady behind you. Let me tell you such an important thing. I always put it with my big baby. This place can only be seen by beautiful young girls. Men can't, and even more so, old men can't see it. I already said that this guy is just spouting nonsense. Huang Chuan sneered. I still believe that there is justice in this world. Stella, what you did today, even if I complain to your church's palace, I will still... It was instantly interrupted. At this time, Father Stella's voice actually overshadowed Huang Chuan's. With a face full of anger, He shouted like the god of thunder, "Shut up, you traitor! You!" Huang Chuan, who was interrupted, had an extremely bad expression on his face. Panic even flashed through his eyes. "Huang Chuan, calm down first." The evil god of fire cloud signaled with his eyes, then looked at Father Stella and said calmly, "There are quite a lot of beautiful female agents in our administration. Which one do you like, Father? Thin or fat, tall or short?" "You're letting me off so easily?" Father Stella rubbed his chin and said, "I really won't stand on ceremony, but I'm not picky. 8 or 10 of each kind will do." Fire Cloud, evil god, smiled and said, "As long as priests can hand over the evidence of Huang Chuan's betrayal, this is not a problem. However, if you don't hand it over, I don't mind taking you to the papal palace personally. I'm very scared." Father Stella shrugged at this time and said, "If you have the ability, then bring people to the papal palace and kill the current old bastard. It'll be convenient for me to start anew and establish my own mountain. The church has a few billion believers. We don't need many, just a few tens of millions will do. In the future, I can play with different female believers every night. Wouldn't that be perfect?" Everyone couldn't help but be shocked by Father Stella's speech at this time. Fortunately, the church's Paladin Wasco and Sister Lavinia were not here. Otherwise, who knew if these two would vomit blood after hearing this? "See, this guy's a complete scoundrel." The Scarlet Blaze Tower's master snorted at this time and said angrily, "Don't stop me. I'm going to beat the shit out of this scoundrel today. My scoundrel is bigger than yours. Come on, show me your rod. I've been a virgin for 60 years. How can you compete with me?" Seeing that these two guys are going to fight each other again, Firecloud, evil god, didn't have a good solution for a while. He could only let people pull the two apart first. "Father Stella, you're really here?" A woman's angry voice came at this time. The church's Sister Lavinia's face was livid at this time. She didn't care about the problem of the men's restroom. She directly pushed the crowd and walked in. "I'm sorry, Scarlet Blaze Tower's master. I'll take Father Stella back and discipline him well." Sister Lavinia took a deep breath and bowed deeply. "I'm sorry about the previous matter. I know, except for sorry, I don't have a better way for the time being. I hope Scarlet Blaze Tower's master can look at the church's face." "Actually, you have a better way, Lavinia," Father Stella said with a smile at this time. "I tell you, Scarlet Blaze, this son of a bitch is usually watched by his wife. As the master of the Dignified Association, he doesn't even have a capable secretary. This guy wants to steal food, even if he wants to die." Sister Lavinia's face was full of coldness at this time. Under everyone's gaze, she suddenly walked to the trash can next to the sink. She took a deep breath, exhaled, and then took another deep breath. Then, she suddenly pulled the trash can up and smashed it on Father Straw's head. More than once. She couldn't stop at all. "Stella, go to hell. Go to hell. You sinner that even the Lord can't save. Heresy. Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell. Lord, forgive me. I'm willing to repent day and night for the sins I committed today. Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell." After a while, maybe it was dozens of seconds, maybe a few minutes, Father Stella was seeing stars at this time. His eyes were swollen and his face was red. Sister Lavinia finally even directly covered Father Stella's face with the trash can. Then she slowly sighed. "Scarlet Blaze Tower's master." Sister Lavinia suddenly shouted, What's the matter?" "I'm sorry," Sister Lavinia said loudly. "If you think it's not enough, I'll smash it in front of you again. I'll smash it until you calm down. After that, I'll punish myself for 3 years of penance for the violent crime I committed." How big of a matter?" Scarlet Blaze Tower's master swallowed his saliva at this time and said, It's okay." Sister Lavinia nodded, then immediately stared at Firecloud, evil god, and said loudly, "Consultant Firecloud, I'm here. I'm sorry. If you think it's not enough, I'll smash it again. After that, I'll go to penance for 3 years to make up for my sins." After that, seeing that the sister was about to pull up the trash can again, Firecloud, evil god, had to quickly wave his hand and said, No, it's a trivial matter, a trivial matter. Only then did Sister Lavinia look at the crowd. Everyone retreated, shivering and sticking to the wall. If there's nothing else, I'll take Father Stella back. With that, Lavinia directly lifted Father Stella's leg and dragged him away. The agency agents blocking the door quickly made way. Huang Chuan suddenly sneered quietly. His eyes flashed with a cold light. Unexpectedly, Father Stella, who had been dragged out of the corridor, buzzed from the trash can at this time. That, usually in the trader's room, computer, or on his body, there must be one. You go and search, there must be one. If not, you can go to this guy's mistress or something. You can definitely ask something. Remember to send me 8 or 10 beautiful girls later. No thanks. Shut up. Lavinia's angry scolding sounded again, followed by the banging sound of the trash can. Father Stella was dragged away in the end. Consultant Firecloud, today's matter, I lost control. The Scarlet Blaze Tower's master recovered his demeanor at this time. If there's nothing else, I'll go back and prepare for the afternoon meeting. Goodbye. These two old, shameless stards left right after they were done with the trouble. Fortunately, this matter hasn't spread out yet. Firecloud, evil god, shook his head with a headache, then immediately looked up at Huang Chuan without speaking. Huang Chuan was stared at by Firecloud, evil god like this, his face unnatural as he said, "Consultant, you wouldn't believe that villain's words, right?" "How could I?" Firecloud, evil god smiled gently at this time. "For so many years, you have done so many things for the agency. If I don't believe you, who else can I believe? It's okay, you can go back. Try to avoid this floor. Stella, this person, if you can avoid contact, try not to contact as much as possible." "I know what to do." Huang Chuan nodded at this time. Firecloud, evil god smiled and patted Huang Chuan's shoulder, encouraging him, "Work hard. Win glory for your White Tiger clan." Huang Chuan stood straight without looking sideways. "It's okay. Everyone can disperse. Do what you need to do." Firecloud, evil god, finally ordered. Just as everyone was dispersing, they saw another agent quickly walk over from the distance, his face anxious. He quickly walked to Firecloud, evil god's side, and whispered a few words in his ear. Firecloud, evil god's face slightly changed at this time. Then he said in a deep voice, "Take me there immediately." "Consultant, did something happen?" Huang Chuan didn't leave. He couldn't help but frown and ask. "It's nothing." Firecloud, evil god, shook his head. "It's just a small matter. You can go back to your post." "Okay." In the summit building, in one of the prepared infirmary. When the curtains of the sickbed in the infirmary were pulled open, Firecloud, evil god, directly saw Yin Xiaoxi lying on the bed with her abdomen tightly wrapped in gauze. The gauze was stained with a large amount of blood. Firecloud, evil god's face was ashen at this time, standing motionless. However, the agents around him, the doctors and nurses in the infirmary, could all feel the anger of this peerless scholar at this moment. "What's going on?" After a long while, Firecloud, evil god sighed and said slowly, "How did you find him?" "The patrol team in the outer area found him." The agent hurriedly responded. It said that there was a black car that directly rushed through the checkpoint. After it was stopped, they walked into the car and found Section Chief Yin, who was seriously injured. Other than that, there was no one else in the car. In addition, we also found a powerful bomb in the car. Fortunately, it was dealt with in time. Otherwise, Section Chief Yin is afraid. But fortunately, the doctor said his life is saved. Now we just have to wait for him to wake up. I'm asking, Yin Xiaoxi should be locked up in the command center to reflect on himself. Firecloud, evil god, said in a deep voice. Who can tell me? Why was he seriously injured and unconscious? And why was he held hostage in a car that was loaded with a bomb? We're still investigating. I don't want to say anything. Firecloud, evil god, seemed to be extremely angry, trying to restrain himself. I want an answer. Give me an answer as soon as possible. We will definitely find out. The agent broke out in cold sweat and said, but if Section Chief was taken away from the command center, logically, he couldn't have left by himself. So, to be able to take him away from the command center, I suspect it was done by our own people. We'll know when Xiaoxi wakes up. Fire Cloud, evil god, waved his hand. You all can leave. I want to accompany him here. Call me when the meeting starts in the afternoon. Yes. Why do all the rooms in this lousy place look the same? Natsuya, Suzuki asked impatiently from the corner of his eyes. Although it was not to the extent of being reckless, Mr. Che Tian, who followed this ferocious young man all the way, was surprised to find that not only did he not bump into anyone on the way, he even seemed to perfectly avoid things like cameras. This kind of thing before the band, he could easily do it himself, but not now. He became more and more interested in this mysterious bodyguard that he pulled in at the last minute. Naturally, in a notebook he used to record everything, this Mr. Natsuya Suzuki's name was already written down. At this moment, a door in the corridor suddenly opened. A man wearing a white robe and a pointy hood that only revealed his eyes, with a bloody cross printed on his back, slowly walked out. Then he rolled up the hood a little, quickly put a cigarette in his mouth, and was about to light it. But the guy with the pointy hood soon noticed Natsuya Suzuki and the other two people in the corridor. A puzzled look flashed across his eyes as he subconsciously asked, "Which diplomatic mission are you guys from?" "We're in luck." Natsuya Suzuki suddenly clapped his hands, and, as if a light bulb had been lit, he walked up to the guy with the pointy hood without saying anything. What do you want to do?" The guy with the pointy hood who was about to smoke asked warily. Natsuya Suzuki looked through the open door and pointed. 1, 2, 3, are there only 3 of you? What's the problem? Don't underestimate us just because we have few people. There's no problem. Natsuya Suzuki suddenly cracked a kind smile. Or rather, this is great. Brother, do you like to sleep lying down or lying on your stomach? After a while, Natsuya Suzuki had already sat in the room casually. He was still wearing a white robe and holding a white pointy hood in his hand. Okay, locomotive boss, you could do whatever you want. Today's luck is not bad. You're right. Mr. Chase smiled. He casually glanced behind him. Behind the sofa, there were 3 men who had been stripped naked. At this moment, they were prickled like crabs, and their original socks were stuffed into their mouths. They were shivering. Chapter 1962. The lunch break was over in the blink of an eye. Even though the world broadcast in the morning had ended, the number of viewers in the afternoon was even greater. This was because various countries and major transcendent organizations were promoting their delegations. Miraculous events had happened all over the world in the past 2 hours. Someone directly caused a torrential downpour in the sky above the city. Someone had attracted hundreds and thousands of wandering souls on the bustling streets. The rivers were cut off, and the withered forests were rejuvenated. Monstrous waves swept across the seaside city, but the moment they were about to drown the city, they froze like a huge green wall. The sea tornadoes even bounced above the sea level. This was the work of the Magician Association. An incomparably huge manor, a magnificent building like a fortress, was built in just 1 hour and pushed directly into the sky above the Rhine River. This was the new Magic Academy that the Magician Association was going to set up. After the rapid construction of this academy, they issued a notice to recruit students around the world and collected the names of the academies. People, in these 2 to 3 hours of events, ate the most melons in their entire lives. However, the explosive news didn't stop, and the summit meeting in the afternoon officially began. They believed that with more transcendent representatives speaking on the stage, more organizations behind the transcendent groups would bring more unforgettable miracles to the world. This was a carnival that belonged to all the transcendents in the world. The first transcendent report in the afternoon was the church. The speech of the church, with the largest number of believers in the world, would be the highlight of this summit meeting. The media present knew this because after experiencing so many miracles, the humans in the world would be looking forward to the church's appearance. Even at this time, in the holy city thousands of miles away, hundreds of thousands of people had welcomed. They devoutly knelt in every corner of the holy city and prayed silently. This time, the church's representative wasn't Father Stella, but Sister Lavinia. Did you think that because the Magician Association pushed Elizabeth to the stage, the church also pushed Sister Lavinia to the stage? No, she was too naive. Perhaps the church will also consider this, but the main reason is still Stella's foul mouth. I'm afraid that after he goes on stage to speak, the faith in the hearts of countless believers will collapse, right? At this moment, everyone knew that the church was willing to change people at the last minute. If they let Stella take the stage and something went wrong, even if the Pope walked out of the palace, he would not be able to handle it. While watching this beautiful nun go up on stage, the transcendents present couldn't help but look curiously at the place where Father Stella was. Father Stella was tied to the chair by a hemp rope, and a light bulb was stuffed into his mouth. Why was a light bulb? It was said that it was because Father Stella's tongue was more flexible, and it was easy for things like cloth balls to push it away. Is there anyone who doesn't know that you can't take out a light bulb after swallowing it? It can't be, right? Father Stella was struggling, but Old Knight Wasco quickly held him down. Quick, move. Move the camera away. This picture must not be leaked. Quick dash. In the media area, a scream sounded, but it was soon drowned out by countless shudders. It's over. The image of the church. It was unknown whether the image of the church was finished, but this time, Sister Lavinia had successfully gone on stage, and the live broadcast mainly focused on her. When people were really looking forward to the beautiful nun of the church to make such a shocking speech, they saw Sister Lavinia just took out an ancient manuscript and then slowly read it to the world. Old Testament, Genesis, chapter 1. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. The earth is empty and chaotic. The abyss is dark. God's Spirit moves on the water. God said, "Let there be light," and there is light. In the quiet venue, Sister Lavinia's voice was like a tinkling spring, flowing in everyone's ears. Even without the blessing of transcendence, this voice seemed to be able to soothe people's hearts. In an instant, the world seemed to be quiet by a third. This is the power of faith. The transcendents around the world who had been paying attention to the discussions on the internet couldn't help but be in awe at this time. This was the power of the religion with the most beliefs in the world. There is no need to deliberately explain anything. They all know the history of the church, and various miracles have long been passed down in their hearts. They have known his greatness since they were young. There are too many myths. The people in the city of Forbidden didn't feel it clearly, but outside the city of Forbidden, in the area outside Kelowna, with the voice of Sister Lavinia, a large number of believers around the world also silently read the scripture in their hearts. There was a brilliant light in the sky, as if the gospel was sprinkled from the sky, bringing spiritual satisfaction and joy to people. This is the real miracle. As expected of him, so many legends are unified. Even without the will of the origin paying attention here, just the prayers of believers can cause a passive reaction of this divine power. In a hotel room in the city of Forbidden, Lucifer suddenly sneered in front of the screen. She was sitting on the sofa at this time, holding her chin and shaking a glass of red wine in her hand. It seems that Buggy still has a long way to go. Lucifer chuckled and raised her head, wanting to drink the red wine in the glass in one gulp. However, Ska, who was sitting quietly beside her, suddenly reached over and took away Lucifer's glass, saying indifferently, "Children shouldn't drink. I want to greet your whole family. Children shouldn't spit vulgar words. Why should I summon you?" The guidance of fate. At this time, the little girl slowly raised her third finger to the beautiful queen of Shadow Country. Unfortunately, she was standing on the sofa in a dress and was no threat at all. Of course, it was impossible for Sister Lavinia to recite all the Old Testament. She quickly stopped reciting, then drew a cross on her chest, put her hands together, prayed, and whispered, "Amen. Thank you very much for your speech, Sister Lavinia. It was really a wonderful speech." The spokesman of the conference organizer hurried to the stage at this time. He tried his best to bring the atmosphere of the scene back to a relatively tense state. However, he knew that no matter what he said at this time, it would be a little pale. He had to hurriedly choose the next extraordinary group to speak on the stage. They would probably hate him to death, because no matter which group came on the stage, they would be overshadowed by the light of Sister Lavinia of the church. The whole afternoon meeting would probably be shrouded in the shadow of the terrible world gospel of the church. The next to come on the stage was the delegation from Northern Europe. Northern Europe was a region with many myths, monsters, and demon hunters. Even in modern times, there were still some demon hunters who had received the inheritance. On the land of Northern Europe, they silently followed the tradition of the demon hunters and monsters. Hello, everyone. My name is Midway, and I'm from Northern Europe. The representative of the Northern European delegation on the stage spoke in a proper manner. After a brief introduction, he did not make too many explosive remarks. He looked like he just wanted to make no mistakes. After the Northern European delegation, the next extraordinary group fell into a state of depression. Although the organizations behind them were willing to cooperate and mobilize forces to show extraordinary power when they came on the stage to speak, they were still unable to match the scene of the world gospel. It was quite a bit of a gloomy and unsettled scene. This depressed state ushered in a turning point when the spokesman of Kelowna Taoism came on the stage in the afternoon. He was Song Howren, the secretary of the Kelowna Taoism Association. He was the main spokesman of the Taoism side of the conference. Taoism, a concept that had existed on the land of Kelowna since ancient times. In terms of myths and legends, the number of Taoism legends was not less than any of the so-called divine systems in the world. At this moment, when the entire world's screens were focused on the secretary of the Taoism Association, Song Howren lightly tapped the microphone in front of him with his finger. Knock, knock, knock. After 3 taps, Song Howren slowly heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a trace of a smile. Let's cultivate together. Facing the representatives of all the extraordinary groups and the eyes of the entire world, Song Howren opened his hands and said loudly, "This is a fortuitous encounter that only the people of Kelowna can understand. This is a treasure that belongs to the people of Kelowna. Citizens of Kelowna, please raise your heads at this moment. It has been a few thousand years. The sword immortal that you want is real, and they are here." They were also facing the young secretary of the Taoism Association. After hearing his words, many people frowned. When all the extraordinary groups were looking at the whole world, this guy only emphasized the land of Kelowna. It seemed that he intended to separate the extraordinary creatures in the land of Kelowna. What does this young man want to do? Fire Cloud, evil god, couldn't help but frown. He subconsciously looked in the direction of Mount Tai, the 100 Tribulation Taoist, but saw that the 100 Tribulation Taoist was resting with his eyes closed. At this moment, an agent of the administration quickly whispered in the ear of Fire Cloud, evil god. We just received a report from the inspection area of Chongbai Mountain. It said that a sword light suddenly appeared in the depths of Chongbai Mountain. It's not just Chongbai Mountain. It's also in the direction of Shenangjia. There's also a report from Chilean Mountain, Dongting, Poyang Lake. The wind and clouds of several famous lakes have changed. It seems that a sword immortal is undergoing tribulation. Not good, advisor. Someone is undergoing tribulation on top of the Pearl Tower. It seems to be a reclusive senior of the Seven Stars sect. Similar news began to bombard the ears of Fire Cloud, evil god one after another. His face gradually turned ugly, and he even stared at the 100 Tribulation Taoist with a helpless expression. When did that old turtle Chi-Chi Kamaya sit next to the 100 Tribulation Taoist? Fire Cloud, evil god, even frowned. It was not the temporary arrival of the gospel of the whole world like the church. At this time, it was only the wind and clouds of Kelowna that changed. The spiritual energy of Kelowna was like boiling water at this time. Waves of spiritual energy swept through the whole land of Kelowna. There were all kinds of famous mountains and rivers, strange peaks and dangerous places and blessed places. Just like what Song Howren said, these were only the treasures that belonged to the people of Kelowna. In the sky above the city, Sword Chi was crisscrossing. The sword light rose from Mount Kunlun, one after another, and crossed the sky of Kelowna from the south to the north, rising from the east and falling from the west. The sword light covered thousands of miles. Sword immortals, they really are sword immortals. Zhao Ku wears a beard, Wugo shines like frost and snow. A silver saddle shines on a white horse, like a shooting star. Damn, real Sword Immortals. Who is more awesome than the Sword Immortals of Kelowna? I love it, I love it, I love it. Which Taoist friend is going through the tribulation here? Before this, it was just a joke. I want this sky to never be able to cover my eyes again. King Bomb. At this time, the Sword Immortals of Kelowna all came out of seclusion. They cut across the sky, and their sword chi was like rainbows. In an instant, the hormones of men soared to the point of blood boiling. In this country, the impression of Sword Immortals was too deeply ingrained. The Sword Immortals you want are real, and they are here. Song Howren's words were still faintly echoing in the ears of the people. However, the scene of the Sword Immortal flying in the sky was a scene that the people of the Divine Prefecture could never forget. The seclusion seniors of Taoism all came out to pass the tribulation. Master 100 tribulations, you're too generous. Chichi Kamaya shook his head with a bitter smile, as if he was jealous. The influence is not ordinary. Mr. Bai Jie said slowly, this might be the first and last time they'll display the power of the immortal Tao in front of the world. The Age of Doom has imprisoned them for too long, and it's also draining their remaining lifespan. The revival of Spirit Chi gave them the last chance to live. It's not that I'm generous, but that they have the last bit of courage to fight before the flame of immortal Tao is extinguished in their hearts. I wonder how many of them can pass the tribulation. Chichi Kamaya sighed. Is it really worth it to kill these old guys? I don't know. 100 tribulations, Taoist sighed. I didn't suggest this, they all decided together. The sword light was still shining brightly. It's a pity that these high-quality swords are wasted. In the living room, Miss Maid shook her head with pity, stroking her hair and saying, it's a bit wasteful. Every beam of sword light was an unyielding soul that had overcome all obstacles and complained to the heavens and earth. Is it a pity? Boss Luo smiled. But they will become seeds and be buried in this land. Miss Maid chuckled. She suddenly took out a clown mask that looked like a crying and smiling face. This was the mask that Luo Chio wore when he took over the shop. Boss Luo reached out to take the mask and slowly put it on his face. Let's go and advertise. Boss Luo said softly. Chapter 1963. The impact was extremely bad. For the representatives of the Transcendents who had yet to take the stage, as well as the administration of Kelowna, especially for the administration, due to the actions of the Taoist elders, it had caused a huge commotion in the various provinces. There's a possibility of a flood downstream. They were currently assessing the impact of the Taoist elders' tribulation. Even so, the Fire Cloud Evil God had to admit that the Taoist sect's move was much more shocking than if he were to film the promotional video himself. The administration's method of publicity was probably too conservative. In just 10 minutes, Song Howren had taken the stage. The shock it brought to the land of Kelowna was not any less than the church's worldwide gospel. In fact, for most of the people of Kelowna, it was even more shocking. It was also more in line with the thousands of years of reverence they had for the gods. After the church's representative, the rest of the Transcendents felt pressured. However, after the Taoist elders took the stage, it was as if they had entered hell mode. Just look at the terrifying power of the Sword Immortals' tribulation. It turned out that there was not only the invincible Shinryu in Kelowna. A real Sword Immortal could travel thousands of miles to kill people. Yin, can I not take the stage? Below, Mr. Gareth of the Night Organization smiled bitterly and said in a low voice, the inhuman powerhouses of Kelowna are too unfriendly. Yin Xiaoxi did not say anything. However, she could not hide the frown on her face. The Taoist elders had always been low-key. This was the first time the Taoist elders were so high-profile. Subconsciously, Yin Xiaoxi felt that it was because Song Howren took the stage to become the secretary of the association. This descendant of the overseas Song Howren was not only incredibly lucky, but he was also very flamboyant. The Taoist elders' tribulation was more like Song Howren's style. You do as you see fit. In the end, Yin Xiaoxi still spoke softly to Mr. Gareth for the sake of their relationship. Do as you see fit. Mr. Gareth shook his head. There was a hint of helplessness and sarcasm in his voice. All right, this time, not only did the Magician Association and the church not bring the night mechanical mechanism to play, even the administration was probably going to back out. At this moment, what could the night mechanism bring out? In the end, we still lacked such top-notch combat power. Mr. Gareth thought to himself, the current night mechanism is in an awkward state of being inferior to the best, but superior to the worst. Unlike Mr. Gareth, who was worried about the future of the night mechanism, Yin Xiaoxi was thinking about another unstable factor outside of Taoism. Demons, the demons of Kelowna. This was a system that had existed for even longer than the Kelowna Taoist system. Since Taoism was already so high profile, what would they do to the demons who were striving to have a place in Kelowna? I hope it won't be too out of line. A few more transcendent organizations took the stage. In fact, the Magician Association in the morning, the church in the afternoon, and the Kelowna Taoist sect were not only unfriendly to the night mechanism, they were also unfriendly to most of the transcendent organizations. This was not the so-called competition of national power in the human world. This was a competition of the strength of transcendent and non-human beings that had been settled for thousands of years. After all, there were many of them. The discussion in the venue became more and more intense. In the midst of the discussion, there was a sound of a gourd in the corner of the venue. It was a guy wearing a white robe with a pointed hat on his head. At this moment, he was slumped and looked like he was already asleep. On the other hand, the companion next to the guy who was sleeping soundly was sitting down and taking notes seriously. But who would pay attention to these three guys with pointed hats? After all, they were not famous transcendents that were worth paying attention to. At this moment, how unlucky! Master Qing Ming, the later you take the stage, the more disadvantageous it is for us. The cabinet is very dissatisfied with this. The man wearing the yin-yang Taoist robe still looked calm and asked people to calm down. Master Qing Ming said slowly, there are many powerful people in the world. Only calm people can see the direction clearly. Being anxious will only affect your judgment. The cabinet has already mobilized. Once Master Qing Ming takes the stage, we will activate the ghost parade. The man in the yin-yang Taoist robe shook his head. In the face of the sword energy of these sword immortals of the divine land, this tiny bit of light from the parade of 100 ghosts was probably do what you can. Master Qing Ming said calmly, there's no need to rush to win. Tell the cabinet that patience is also a way to success. While Master Qing Ming was talking to the people below, the speaker of the conference went up the stage again and picked out a new representative from the list. Next up is the demon race. Along with the speaker's voice, the cameras in the venue quickly moved to the location of the demon race and the 4 spirit races in Kelowna. After the sword immortals, it's the demon race. They are all local immortals and demons. Old Q, hurry up. If you're too slow, I won't let you look at those erotic pictures in the office anymore. F***. At this moment, the lights in the venue dimmed. At the location of the 4 spirit races, an ordinary-looking short old man slowly stood up under everyone's gaze. The speaker introduced him. This old man's name was Ming Tushan. He was one of the 4 spirit beasts in Kelowna, the Black Tortoise clan. The 4 spirits of heaven and earth, azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise have existed since ancient times. They are the auspicious beasts of heaven and earth, the divine beasts responsible for guarding the stability of Kelowna. The speaker introduced them with excitement. However, the leaders of the 4 spirit races didn't seem to be interested in this at all. Their faces were expressionless. That old man Hui Yun is really cunning. The 4 spirit races didn't even speak, and he directly put such a big label on them. At this moment, Chichi Kamaya clicked his tongue and said, Mr. Baijia, I'm afraid the Bureau added these words because of your Tao sect. We're all good friends. Mr. Turtle, you're wrong. 100 Tribulation Taoist chuckled and said, my friend from the 4 spiritual clans are also concerned about the safety of the divine land. Chichi Kamaya also chuckled. However, he soon frowned and muttered to himself, but why does this old Ming look weird? Is it because he has too much sex? Mr. Turtle, you. Bajadawa's expression couldn't help but turn cold. Chichi Kamaya blinked his eyes and said, "Don't you know? Turtles have always been good at giving birth. Don't look at me like this. I have tens of thousands of descendants." Immeasurable deity. In the distance, on the stage of the Bureau of Kelowna, as the organizer of this event, Huiyan Evil God also stared at the appearance of Ming Tushan of the Black Tortoise clan. At this moment, a subordinate quickly said, "Consultant, Section Chief, Yin has woken up. He insisted on getting out of bed and is outside the door." Huiyan Evil God frowned and turned his head to look at the side door. At this moment, Yin Xiaoxi was only wearing a white shirt, and the blood stain on the white gauze on his chest and abdomen seemed to have gotten bigger. At this moment, Yin Xiaoxi's face was pale and anxious. Huiyan Evil God frowned and said, "The whole world's attention is here, and it's still live. I can't leave, and it's not good for him to come in now. If there's anything else, wait until Ming Tushan's speech is over. Later, let someone speak and say there's a 3-minute break." The subordinate nodded and was about to speak when suddenly, there was a sudden commotion in the hall. As it turned out, in the instant that the fire cloud evil god communicated with his subordinates, another figure also stood up from his seat, and the one who stood up was none other than the Demon Alliance Association's young master of the Greedy Wolf race, Purple Star. "Wait." The Greedy Wolf Zixing, who suddenly stood up, said in a clear voice, "My Greedy Wolf race is also a big race in the Demon Alliance. My Greedy Wolf race should also have the right to speak. Here, I think Ming Tushan of the Black Tortoise race can't represent my Greedy Wolf race, nor can he represent all of the Demon race." Wow. Ming Tushan, who was preparing to go on stage, even frowned slightly. Clearly, Purple Star Greedy Wolf's sudden interference was somewhat unexpected. Ming Tushan glanced coldly at the acting chief of the White Tiger tribe. The acting patriarch of the White Tigers directly said in a deep voice, "Purple Star Young Master, Old Ming has always been the honorary president of the Monster Race Association. At this time, Old Ming is the representative of our monster race. What is wrong with that?" Zixing said indifferently, "You're just the acting chief of the White Tiger race. Even if Imperial Uncle Fu was here, he wouldn't dare to be rude to me. Who do you think you are?" Imperial Uncle Fu, that boorish fellow, would be even more rude. A cold glint flashed in the eyes of the White Tiger clan's acting clan leader. Soon after, he slowly said, "This isn't something that your Greedy Wolf clan can decide. This is something that our 4 spirit clans have decided together. Elder Ming can represent our demon clan." Zixing said expressionlessly, "Ever since the summit was decided to be held, your 4 spirit races haven't held a single meeting between the races. Not only my Greedy Wolf race, but the other demon races have also been ignored by you 4 spirit races. 4 spirit races. Do you think that you're the true ruler of the demon race? You don't need to listen to the voices of the other demon races to decide the future of Kelowna's demon races. You 4 spirit races are so domineering. You've simply thrown away the face of all the demon races in Kelowna." As he said that, the Greedy Wolf race's Purple Star Young Master quietly glanced at a certain spot on the 2nd floor of the venue. He saw that in the private room upstairs, Kelowna's Shinryu was standing in front of a one-way mirror. He crossed his arms and looked down at the venue. "This little girl is quite fierce." Long Shirua's lips curled up slightly. The various transcendent representatives all revealed playful gazes at this moment. They loved to watch the internal strife of their competitors the most. Even the restless Father Stella obediently sat down. "Wasco, do you have popcorn and cola? Feed me." "You, when are you going to use the light bulb?" "Tisk, my tongue is unparalleled in the world. A mere light bulb can't do anything to me." Sigh. The old holy knight stopped talking and pretended that he didn't hear anything. He took a new light bulb and placed it in Father Stella's mouth. Then, he continued to observe the internal strife within Kelowna's demon races. At this time, facing the aggressive Purple Star Greedy Wolf race, the White Tiger acting patriarch snorted coldly. "Now the whole world is looking at me, Kelowna's demon race. Purple Star Young Master, if you jump out at this time, I'm afraid you are the one who will really lose face for the demon race. Purple Star suddenly said, when the Demon Race Association was first established, there was a rule that as long as one seat disagrees, any decision can be nullified. My greedy wolf race thinks that the four spirit races are conservative and opinionated. It is no longer suitable to continue to represent all the demon race. I want to overturn this session's seat and re-elect the association's seat. Purple Star Young Master, the White Tiger acting patriarch, said solemnly, there must be a limit to your nonsense. Even if you have such power, you shouldn't do it at this time. Do you really want the whole world to see us demon races as a joke? If you want to re-elect, I won't agree. White Tiger doesn't recognize your proposal. Just as Purple Star and the White Tiger acting patriarch were confronting each other, a voice suddenly sounded in the venue. I agree. The voice that echoed was the voice of Shinryu of Kelowna. I agree to the Demon Race Association's re-election. In an instant, the White Tiger acting patriarch's expression became extremely ugly. The various transcendent diplomatic groups present might not recognize the origin of this voice, but as a reputable member of the demon race in Kelowna, it was impossible for him not to recognize the owner of this voice. Long Shirua, Kelowna's Shinryu. If she didn't speak, once she spoke, it was like a golden rule to both Taoists and demons. However, since ancient times, Kelowna's Shinryu had never directly intervened in the internal affairs of the Taoists and demons. Only the voice could be heard, but not the person. However, the appearance of this voice had already attracted the attention of all the transcendent diplomatic groups present. Kelowna's Shinryu, this barrier that stood above Kelowna, was a direction that the transcendence of this world had always been unable to cross. They had tried to cross before, but had never succeeded. Kelowna, the world's forbidden land for transcendence and inhuman powers, was like an iron rule since ancient times. Were they finally going to see the Shinryu of the East? Without a doubt, the Transcendent World Conference this time, apart from temporarily using their own powers, was held mainly to see the Shinryu of the East. The venue became even quieter. Even the media seemed to have forgotten to press the shutters in their hands. This conference had always been quite smooth, and everyone had gone on stage without any incidents. However, when the conflict came, it was indeed fast and fierce. Boss, what's going on? Our image. Old Q suddenly said at this time. Run Xiling was startled and subconsciously bent down to look at the equipment that she had just brought. This thing won't be broken at this time, right? Dragon King. A loud voice filled the entire venue. Without any amplification equipment, the White Tiger clan leader's voice rang out like a fierce tiger's roar. 1,000 years. 2,000 years, thousands of years. Our demon clan was once the truly tyrannical race in Kelowna. However, you keep saying that now is the time for humanity to rise, and we demon clan don't care. How many years has it been? How many years has it been? How long are you going to suppress our demon clan? The White Tiger clan leader was furious at this time, and he raised his head and laughed sinisterly. You're not worthy of being the Dragon King. You're just an unjust puppet tied to the chains of humanity. Today, I'll let the whole Kelowna, the whole world know. Even without you, the Shinryu of Kelowna, our demon clan can still rise. The White Tiger clan leader suddenly raised his arm high. Throughout history, the path of change has always been paved with blood. Since the ancient Kelowna, this land has already belonged to the demon clan. What do you want to do? The substitute White Tiger clan leader was holding a fist-sized metal sphere high up in his hand. What do I want to do? The White Tiger clan leader laughed sinisterly. War. This is the signal of war. From today onwards, the four elemental generals will no longer be polite to humanity. We won't be hibernating in this wretched land. We will return to the position of the master of Kelowna. Don't be rash. The fire cloud, evil god, shouted coldly. However, at this moment, the acting clan leader of the White Tigers exerted force on his wrist and was about to press the button on the metal ball in his hand. Transcendence present. Let your blood open the first door to victory for the rise of the shifters, his voice suddenly stopped. The white tiger substitute clan leader's body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow at this moment, immediately kneeling on the ground. The metal ball in his hand directly fell to the ground at this moment, rolling. In the end, it was picked up by a hand. It was actually the hand of the Vermilion Bird clan high priest Chu Xinghe. The white tiger clan leader's eyes widened, and he crazily said, "Chu Xinghe, quickly press it." Success. High priestess Siku, who picked up the metal ball, shook her head, then sighed and said, "Don't tell me you didn't see clearly who knocked you down." "Who?" The white tiger clan leader looked over hatefully, only to see the guy standing there looking at him expressionlessly. "It's me, I knocked you down." "It's you, how can it be?" "Song Jinshui." The white tiger clan leader widened his eyes in disbelief. "Why did you do this?" "Song Jinshui, you're crazy. You forgot the agreement between us." "I'm not crazy. The one who's crazy is you and you." Song Jinshui coldly snorted and directly looked at Ming Tushan. Their gazes followed Song Jinshui's gaze and moved to the Black Tortoise clan leader. At this moment, everyone was shocked to realize that Ming Tushan was already under control. Other than the 4 agents from the administration, there were also 2 knights dressed as Night Mechanism, who had already pressed Ming Tushan to the ground. Song Jinshui, Ming Tushan, who was pressed to the ground by everyone, suppressed his anger. "You betrayed me? It can't be considered betrayal," the Green Dragon Clan leader said indifferently. "It's just that compared to the pie you painted, I trust Kelowna Shinryu more. That's all." Song Jinshui, Ming Tushan coldly laughed. "Don't forget, you also had a part in killing the real Ming Tushan. Not only that, you also personally destroyed the 3 souls and 7 spirits of Ming Tushan. Can you escape? You don't have to worry about that." Chu Xinghe said indifferently. "If we didn't do something back then, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been able to walk out of the Peace Hotel. As for Elder Ming, do you really think it's that easy to kill him?" Ming Tushan didn't die. Ming Tushan, who was pressed to the ground. Gong Sun Shiyu frowned. The Purple Star young master clapped his hands, and the door of the venue slowly opened. A greedy wolf warrior slowly supported a short old man into the venue. The old man's face was pale, and he looked extremely weak as he leaned on a walking stick. "Ming Tushan, impossible. You clearly died under my sword. You can't be alive. Young Master Siyu's sword energy is unparalleled. I really can't block it." The pale-faced old man smiled bitterly and said, "This old man's life was exchanged with his own blood. This old man will never forget that sword strike from yesterday." As he spoke, Ming Tushan lightly bowed to the greedy wolf young master, Purple Star. "Thank you for saving me, young Master Purple Star." Purple Star said indifferently, "You don't have to thank me. If you want to thank Song Jinshui. If it wasn't for the information he gave me, I wouldn't have been able to find the place where you were faking your death. I can't thank you enough." Ming Tushan looked at Song Jinshui with a complicated expression. Song Jinshui said indifferently, "No need. I also crushed the 3 souls of your descendants, but I left the 7 spirits behind. Go find Xiao Xingma. He might be able to save you. If you need any materials, my Green Dragon tribe will not lack you." Damn it. You cowards of the 3 tribes actually worked together to deceive me. Damn it. The acting clan leader of the White Tigers pounced like a madman. However, in the Forbidden Land, his pounce was instantly knocked to the ground by the agency's agents who had seized the opportunity. In an instant, 7 or 8 agents flew out and pressed the White Tiger substitute patriarch to the ground and quickly put on special shackles. Song Jinshui, don't forget, your enemy is Fire Cloud. You treacherous thief. You even helped the enemy who killed your father. You shameless person. I didn't say I won't kill Fire Cloud. Song Jinshui said indifferently. I just don't want to use this method. I will take Fire Cloud, old man's life sooner or later. Patriarch Song is right. He will come and take my life sooner or later. On the stage, Fire Cloud, evil god, said indifferently, "After Mount Tai, I have already made a private agreement with Patriarch Song. When he feels it's time, he will come to me for revenge, and we will have a battle to the death. I have also made a similar agreement with High Priest Chu." How could? The White Tiger substitute Patriarch instantly gave up, struggling as if he was struck by lightning. Fire Cloud, evil god, straightened his body and said, "Gong Sun Shiyu, your trick has already been seen through by us. Now that you've been captured, don't try anything else. Later, I will hand you over to Mr. Turtle of the Xinyuan Palace, and this matter will end here. It's worth it to make Kelowna lose so much face in front of the whole world." Gong Sun Shiyu, who looked like Mingta Mountain, chuckled. "Actually, when you were about to appear, I had already stopped the live broadcast. Now the broadcast outside is Journey to the West, version 86, Uproar in Heaven. It's very good. I'll watch it once every summer vacation." Fire Cloud, evil god, laughed casually. Journey to the West in version 86. F***CK. This consultant Fire Cloud is poisonous. In the media area, Annie Rin couldn't help but smack her lips, and then she muttered, "Wait, I thought my machine was poisoned and broken. Thank goodness, thank goodness." With that, Annie Rin planned to drink a cup of water to calm down, but when she was about to pick up the cup, she suddenly found the cup trembling slightly. Circles of ripples slowly swayed in the cup at this time. "Do you feel anything?" Auntie Rin frowned at this time. "Is this table shaking?" The table? Lizzie looked at it subconsciously, and then she looked at the floor. At this time, the floor was shaking more and more violently, and this vibration soon reached the point where it could shake people. What happened? With a more and more intense vibration, the people in the venue stood up one after another. At this time, the main screen of the venue directly cut to the scene at this time. The earth began to crack. This was the earth outside the city. The cracked earth began to crazily pile up at this time. Crazily pile up. At this moment, the mountain-like soil and rocks had completely surrounded the entire Forbidden City. Above the encircled mountain, a raging green flame suddenly ignited. Looking down from the sky, the entire Forbidden City seemed to have been drawn into an incomparably huge circle of green flames. And above these huge walls of mud and stone, there was a raised battle flag. This is the floating flame flag. Chichi Kamaya couldn't help but exclaim at this moment. He looked at Gong Sun Shiyu and said angrily, "Gong Sun Shiyu, this is the secret treasure of Xinyuan Palace. How dare you? It's a secret treasure that has been used all the time, and it's just a broken flag that has been hidden all the time." Gong Sun Shiyu, who was suppressed, said indifferently at this time, "I just left some backup for myself. I didn't intend to use it, but the demon race is still untrustworthy. Just like your Kuan tribe, you suspiciously joined Xinyuan Palace that day because Xinyuan Palace is powerful. In the future, your Kuan tribe will also join them. What the hell do you want to do?" Chi-Chi Kamaya frowned and said, "Since you used the floating flame flag to seal the entire Forbidden City, what a big deal. Since it's the Forbidden City, it should look like a forbidden city." Gong Sun Shiyu said casually, "If everyone can come and go freely, what's the point? The Forbidden City now can be considered a true Forbidden City. Do it. The demon race is untrustworthy. I'm still used to using my own people." Hearing Gong Sun Shiyu's words, everyone present became nervous. The Forbidden City was now sealed from the outside. For the time being, the various transcendent forces outside would not be able to break through the power of the floating flame flag. They didn't know what other plans Gong Sun Shiyu had, but they couldn't help but be vigilant at this time. "Huang Chuan," someone shouted angrily. It seemed to be the voice of Fire Cloud, evil god. At the stairs at the entrance of the venue, a strong man with a square face was holding a metal ball in his hand. The moment everyone's eyes focused on him, the metal ball was opened. In an instant, a light green fog gushed out crazily. The moment Huang Chuan opened the poison ball, the nearby transcendent teams had already rushed down frantically. However, The poison gas spread abnormally fast. A transcendent representative who didn't have time to move after being contaminated by the poison gas instantly had pus flowing out from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. He fell to the ground in an instant, his whole body corroded. Anyone who touched it would die. Damn it, there's actually another poison ball. Quick, come to us quickly. We have Gong Sun Shiyu's detoxification pearl with us. Chu Xinghe shouted anxiously. Do you really think I'll give you the real detoxification pearl? Gong Sun Shiyu sneered and said, From the beginning, I didn't plan to do so. You're here too. You're not afraid of death. You must have something with you that can detoxify the poison. I do have antibodies, but they only work on me. Then we'll kill you first. If we die, you'll die with us. Gong Sun Shiyu said indifferently, I can stop this poison gas, but I need people who are loyal to me. I know many of you have never been threatened and would rather die than submit. But it doesn't matter. I only need people who are willing to bow down. Make your choice. Kill me now, or choose another way to live. Damn it. Do you really think I won't do it? An angry transcendent roared at that moment. But soon, someone directly blocked in front of Gong Sun Shiyu. There was even a Kelowna agency agent who directly charged at Gong Sun Shiyu and held him down. Under the threat of the deadly poison gas, the scene instantly turned into a chaotic battlefield. However, the rapidly spreading poison gas was crazily squeezing the space of movement of many transcendent groups. The people in the media area were now approaching this side in horror. The poison gas sealed all the exits, and no one dared to even take half a step out. In the chaos, Buggy hid under the table, and without saying a word, he first exchanged for a gas mask. But before he could put it on, the gas mask instantly corroded when it came into contact with the poison gas, and God Buggy's legs trembled as he crawled among the crowd. I want the antidote that can remove this poison gas. He madly muttered to the tablet in his hand, and the units of faith were quickly consumed. Then, a small bottle appeared directly above Buggy's head and was about to fall. Without saying a word, Buggy stretched out his hand to catch the bottle. But when the bottle fell halfway, it was directly caught by a flawless white jade-like hand. Buggy was stunned, and a nameless flame instantly rushed to the top of his head as he glared at the owner of the hand that intercepted him. With just a glance, God Buggy instantly shuddered, because what he saw was a clown mask that was half crying and half laughing. It was a woman wearing such a mask. He was instinctively afraid of this woman. The degree of fear even made Buggy subconsciously ignore the other man beside the woman, who was also wearing a clown mask. Lend me this bottle of antidote. Just as Buggy was about to say something, the man with the clown mask spoke first. The units of faith you used, I'll return it to you. Seeing that the units of faith that were consumed crazily were quickly replenished, God Buggy opened his mouth and immediately trembled all over. You. The guy who forcibly took him from Lucifer's contract, the owner of the terrible maid. That person. God Buggy slumped to the ground in an instant, trembling. At this time, Miss Maid, who was wearing the same mask, directly crushed the antidote bottle in her hand. A milky white powder mist, at this time, spread out in Miss Maid's palm. Like pollen blown away by the wind, they quickly flew toward the poisonous creatures around them. When they collided with the poisonous fog instantly faded away and then slowly disappeared. Quiet. Miss Maid's voice suddenly sounded like a drizzle, gently buckling into the hearts of all the transcendents present. Quiet. The entire chaotic venue quieted down in an instant. Everyone subconsciously stopped, looking at the voice that seemed to come from the depths of their hearts. At this time, a certain young man wearing a pointy hat, who was still sleeping calmly in his seat amidst the chaos, suddenly woke up. His body even slipped and fell directly to the ground. Who are they? Another man who was writing notes beside the young man suddenly asked. Boss. The man who was writing notes at this time was startled at this time. He seemed to hear a trace of panic from this fearless guy. Bang! At this time, Kelowna's Shinryu fiercely punched the glass curtain wall at this time, firmly pressing against the venue below. She had planned to directly smash the glass with something to let people escape from here, but she saw the most undesirable thing. Bastard. Even wearing the same mask, couple's outfit. Bastard. Shameless bitch. Go to hell. Kelowna's Shinryu violently lifted the chair next to her, fiercely smashing it on the glass curtain wall. It didn't break because it was bulletproof glass. Who's here? From their cognition, they gradually recognized the existence of this person. It was like a painting that gradually emerged from the depths of their consciousness. And the person in the painting was a character that appeared out of thin air. Until finally, their consciousness recognized his existence. Therefore, at the same time, all the different forms of consciousness had a common understanding. This person wearing the crying and laughing clown mask had the ability to use the extraordinary power even in the Forbidden Land. Lamia's frowned at once. The throbbing from the depths of her soul made her recognize who was here at once. He was here. Boss. At this time, Boss Luo, who wore the clown mask again, lightly tapped his leg and directly flew up, landing on the stage of the venue. Dead silence. This was the extraordinary power. A person who could use the extraordinary power without fear in the Forbidden City appeared in front of them, just like that. There was only one conclusion. Perhaps only one conclusion could be drawn, the most frightening conclusion. This is the first time I'm meeting everyone with this identity. The masked man on the stage said slowly, I've prepared some small gifts for everyone. As he spoke, Boss Luo on the stage opened his palm. On the stage, metal balls that released poisonous fog were used one after another. The metal balls were like planets, slowly rotating on the stage, and the number kept increasing, until there were a total of 139 balls. Mr. Gongsun, these are the things you brought this time, buried in various places of the city. As Boss Luo spoke, those spinning metal balls all flew in front of Gongsun Shiyu. At this time, Gongsun Shiyu, who originally looked like Ming Tu Shan, actually twisted his body little by little. He let out a muffled groan and then weakly fell to the ground. He had already returned to his original appearance as Gongsun Shiyu, and the metal balls were all arranged neatly in front of him. Looking at these metal balls, Gongsun Shiyu couldn't help but stop breathing. His mind was in a mess. Looking at these metal balls on the ground, all the transcendents present couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. If this poisonous fog exploded in the entire city, the consequences would be unimaginable. Mr. Gue, you should keep this flag as well. Suddenly, Boss Luo spoke. He stretched out his hand, and a flagpole flashing with green flames fell into his hand. Then, he sent it to Chichi Kamaya. Keep the valuable things well, don't throw them away. Chichi Kamaya subconsciously stretched out his hand and received this flag. After receiving it, he seemed to wake up from a dream and could only instinctively reply, Okay, I like this city very much. His voice sounded again. I also promised a friend to keep this city as it should be, so I set up a ban on this city. It's you who set up the ban. How can? In the crowd, a trembling voice slowly sounded. However, no one cared about who it was that asked that question. Boss Luo nodded casually. I did ban this city, but I know that even if I ban it, it will only make it special. It will make people involuntarily want to explore this place or make use of it. For example, this summit meeting. Fire Cloud, Evil God's expression, changed slightly. He, who had slashed all the way from the east of Changbai to the south of the South Sea, found it extremely difficult to look directly at this moment. He recalled his encounter in the long river of Qi, those chains that flickered with cold light. Actually, I'm quite happy to see this summit meeting being held. Boss Luo's voice sounded again. He waved his hand, and all the media's equipment instantly returned to normal. At this moment, his appearance appeared on the screen of the whole world's live broadcast. He was speaking to the whole world in the simplest and lowest cost way. I think if the whole world's attention can be focused on here. Boss Luo's voice slowly sounded. In the whole world, it was as if his voice was the only one. then I can easily tell everyone that I don't want unnecessary things to happen in this city because of the transcendence. This is a one-off warning, so the effect should be better. Maybe you will doubt what I said. So, I plan to stop the transcendence in this world for 10 minutes. Everyone, feel it yourselves. Stop. Stop the transcendence in the world? What a joke. But what he said is true. My power is gone. In an instant, when this only voice sounded, the transcendence in the whole world seemed to have fallen into hibernation. Even the sword immortals of Kelowna, who were in the middle of their tribulation, looked at the loss of power in their body in horror, and the world that had returned to its calm state. It's them. It's them. This group of devils. Devils. At this moment, Farrell was trembling all over as he hugged his own head and curled up in a corner of the wall. Mr. Song was frowning, and there was panic on his face. He seemed to be frightened by something as he looked at his gradually withered palm. The feeling of death. In front of the big screen in the mall, Momo slowly raised his head and looked at the clown on the screen, muttering to himself, "Senior, it's you, right? How can it be? This isn't their style. Why would they interfere with the affairs in the real world? Damn it, my work is almost done. Damn it, damn it. Don't take away my power. See to the sun. What you did. I won't let you go. It's true. It's true. The headquarters sent the news that their power is gone. One person directly sat on the ground, paralyzed. No, no, no. Another person collapsed to his knees on the ground. Even more people sat paralyzed in front of this godlike power. No, this was the power of a god. 10 minutes. To all extraordinary powers across the world, those 10 minutes were akin to the end of the world, and every second felt like a century. Without power, 10 minutes. Until the power that had vanished suddenly returned to their bodies. And when the brief 10 minutes ended, what remained of the extraordinary powers in the world was a shadow that could not be shaken off. Then, do you still need me to prove anything? Boss Luo's voice sounded in this world after the 10 minutes ended. This was the only voice. He said softly, "It seems that there's no need. Hashtag, 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 hashtag PS1. Here's an extra chapter for Elder Wudong. PS2. There are 2 other 50,000 yuan rewards, Social Brother Tony, and what should I call you? Pass me some tea. PS3. After this chapter, there's 0/1, another day. PS4. My body is empty. Good night." Chapter 1964. In a house in a small village on the outskirts of the city of exclusion, Mr. Song watched as his withered palms gradually regained their plumpness, but his expression did not relax. Farrell was still hiding in the corner, his mind in a state of chaos. Mr. Song could not help but speak with some difficulty. "This is the enemy you were talking about?" Farrell did not respond. His current reaction was the best response. Mr. Song was silent for a moment. Suddenly, the door opened, and Wolfgang walked in with a bag of food in his hand, his expression solemn. Just now, Mr. Song did not say anything. He just pointed at the screen of an old-fashioned TV series in front of him. Wolfgang looked at the screen he was pointing at. This is... The bag of food in his hand suddenly fell to the ground. Even his breathing seemed to have quickened, and his eyes widened in disbelief. The people in this sub-world. How did they provoke this person and make him appear in such a high-profile manner? It seems that there is no need. The lights in the venue were restored, and it was like spring returning to the earth from winter. The heavy pressure around everyone was instantly removed, but the depression in their hearts became heavier. Before this, if anyone said that someone could press the whole world to the ground with his own strength, they would not believe it. Even the Eastern Shinryu, who was said to be the strongest on the planet, was only the strongest on a single person. The Eastern Shinryu could be very strong, and she could even visit every family. But if she could not win, she could still escape, right? What about this mysterious man? He could not escape. Even if he hid in the dust, he would be dug out directly. The terrifying power that could ban and restore the supernatural powers of the whole world at will. No, this could no longer be described as power. It was like a divine power, like an administrator of the server, casually changing the rules of the content world. F***CK. This is too pretentious. I will support you for the rest of my life." In the eerily quiet venue, a loud voice rang out. When everyone subconsciously looked over, they found that the person who spoke was actually Father Stella. The priest was still tied up, and it was unknown when he removed the second light bulb in his mouth with his powerful tongue. When everyone's eyes were focused on Father Stella, he did not seem to notice. "If I can, I'll go too. But I can't. I don't have this kind of power. Give me some." Boss Luo looked at Father Stella quietly. However, the ropes on the priest were slowly being untied. When the rope was completely untied, Father Stella stood up, rubbed his wrist, and said with a smile, "Thank you. I'll say more bad things about you when I go back to pray, so that you won't be able to go to heaven." "Sure, Stella." Old Knight Wasco tugged at Father Stella's shirt in horror, hinting him to stop being a strong talker. The church could not afford to provoke such an enemy. "Why are you pulling me?" Father Stella rolled his eyes, picked his ears, and said, "Are you deaf or are you distracted by the pain of hemorrhoids? Didn't you hear that this is just a warning? I'm here to show off, not to destroy or do bad things. I'm not afraid." "Amen." Shut up, you damn." In a hurry, Knight Wasco covered Stella's mouth, and at the same time called Sister Lavinia to help, pressing the talker down. Wasco looked at the master and servant on the stage in fear. He had seen them before, in Stella's small church in Britain. Although he did not know why the other party was wearing a mask at this time. Maybe he did not want too many people to know his real face or something like that. But Wasco could recognize him. Father Stella has always been an interesting person. Boss Luo just chuckled at this time. Father Stella pried open Wasco's fingers and said loudly, Wrong. I'm an interesting soul. You can say that." Boss Luo responded casually. At this time, Father Stella had been violently pressed down by Sister Lavinia and Wasco. Looking at Sister Lavinia holding up the chair, Father Stella even shrank his neck. It was like a farce. But somehow, after Stella, the talker, said it, they began to re-examine the situation at this time. The first thing to consider was the purpose of this terrifying and mysterious guy. Was it really just to give a warning? So simple? "I'm not used to lying." Boss Luo suddenly said, "There are no enemies of mine here, and I don't intend to hurt anyone here. I just hope that the future of this city, before it comes to an end one day in the future, it will maintain its original appearance." All the transcendents were silent. At this very moment, the people who were watching the live broadcast from all over the world were also very quiet at this moment. Their faces were already pale as they stood in front of the screen. This silence had been maintained since 10 minutes ago. If that's the case, I guarantee on behalf of the Kelowna Authority that no transcendents are allowed to step into this place. Fire Cloud, Evil God, took a deep breath and rose up. He needed to do so, and he could not hesitate. There's no need to restrict so strictly. Boss Luo shook his head and said, "The prohibition will always exist before the city ends. It doesn't matter if the transcendents are transcendents or not. After all, fear can only be used for a while. The next generation who has never experienced it may not think so." Hearing about terror and experiencing it personally, there were always some stubborn warriors. In an instant, they had already grasped a lot of information from these words. Many of them had already made up their minds to capture those arrogant youngsters and teach them a good lesson when they returned. "You already have such power. Why do you still want to stay here?" An extremely difficult voice slowly sounded. It came from the Magician Association, a Scarlet Blaze Tower Master. Boss Luo looked at the Scarlet Blaze Tower Master. The Scarlet Blaze Tower Master's face turned pale, but he did not avoid it. He just held his wife's hand tightly under the table. "It doesn't matter where I stay." Boss Luo gave such an answer. "As long as it's a place of value, I'll stay. I like this city. I also like this world. I like the many people and things I've encountered here." The moment the voice sounded, the Kelowna Shinryu in the second floor spat and said with hatred, "Bah, Sea King." Boss Luo heard it and just casually glanced at the special seats on the second floor. "Actually, among all of you here, or the organizations behind you, there should be many people who know about our existence." Boss Luo turned his head and said, You know, we've always existed, but we don't take the initiative to influence the development of this world. Then what are you? Businessman. Boss Luo looked at somewhere in the crowd. The person who spoke suddenly breathed a lot faster. He was not as tough as the Scarlet Blaze Tower Master, and his legs were trembling. But to be able to speak at this time, he was obviously more courageous than many people, or more impulsive. I have a shop that can sell anything as long as you have the ability to pay. You can get anything you want. Boss Luo smiled slightly and said, this time, other than to add some necessary rules to the city of Forbidden, the most important thing is to do some publicity of our small shop. Publicity, everyone in the world listened to these words in a daze. But as long as you pay enough, you can get anything you want. Such a shop, does it exist? No, it doesn't. At this moment, no one doubted the words of the man who had just taken away the extraordinary power of the world for 10 minutes. With that said, Boss Luo waved his hand, and instantly, black cards began to appear in the air. The black cards turned into a black tornado and spun in front of everyone. There are a total of 99 black cards here. Boss Luo's voice sounded at the same time. They're the proof of transactions. As long as the holder of this black card, no matter who it is, they can come to my shop and trade with me and enjoy different levels of discounts. They looked at the black card whirlwind with fervent gazes. Some of them even reached out their hands subconsciously, wanting to grab a black card from the whirlwind. A dash. A scream sounded. He didn't grab the black card from the black tornado. Instead, his palm was cut into pieces by the numerous black cards in the black tornado. Blood oozed out from the man's broken palm and then merged into the black tornado, turning into a bloody mist and finally fading, disappearing in midair. Immediately after, a faint smell of blood permeated the air because of this. Right at this moment, the black whirlwind suddenly stopped. 99 black cards instantly flew out due to the centrifugal force. They hovered above everyone's head, and each black card slowly rotated. However, this time, no one dared to take the initiative to reach out and grab this black card. No, there was one. Father Stella jumped up at this moment, intending to bite one of the black cards. He was about to bite it, but at this moment, Sister Stella, who was next to Stella, suddenly pulled Father Stella down in a panic. You prodigal woman, what the hell is this? Don't think that just because I have some good looks, I will always. It's over. You are a group of idiots. It's such a good opportunity, Dash. The priest cursed loudly at this moment. At this moment, all the black cards rushed out of the summit meeting venue and flew into the sky. Then, one by one, the black cards turned into black meteors and flew all over the world. God, Stella, you're right. It was indeed a good opportunity just now. Boss Luo said calmly, but opportunities are often fleeting. If you didn't seize them, you didn't seize them. What do you mean? Someone asked in a trembling voice. Boss Luo waved his hand. I hid these 99 black cards in various places in this world. Opportunities are equal. This is an opportunity given to all living things in this world. No matter who they are, any form of life will do. As long as someone comes to my store with a black card, I will make a deal with them and fulfill their wish. You're crazy. Instantly, an angry voice came from the private room on the second floor. It was the voice of Kelowna Shinryu. Boss Luo didn't respond. Facing all the people present and the pairs of eyes in front of the screen, he slowly bowed to express his gratitude, together with Miss Maid beside him. On the stage, a curtain condensed by black flames slowly descended. I'm looking forward to the arrival of the black card holder. His voice, the only voice in this world, sounded, I'm looking forward to your arrival, future customer. The curtain finally covered the stage and then dispersed. The shop owner and Miss Maid were nowhere to be seen on the stage. It seemed that they had never been here. However, the more than 100 metal balls that were arranged neatly in front of Gong's son, Shiyu, seemed to emphasize that they had been here. It was the same in the past 10 minutes of black. Cut off the live broadcast right away. Play whatever you want. A transcendent representative from the Siberian plateau said quickly. They all looked at the evil god of Fire Cloud, and the evil god of fire cloud nodded silently. After this incident, the remaining half of the meeting in the afternoon could no longer continue. In fact, even if this incident didn't happen, Fire Cloud, evil god, had planned to postpone the meeting to the next day simply because of Gong's son Shiyu's plan. However, at this moment, Fire Cloud, evil god, looked at the transcendent representatives in the room and couldn't help but smile bitterly. In the future, could the meeting continue smoothly? Their thoughts were probably no longer on this meeting, but on the 99 black card certificates scattered all over the world. Fire Cloud, evil god, exhaled slowly and said in a very tired voice, "This reminds me of the past. In the past, whenever there was a legend about a secret manual of a divine skill in the martial arts world, people would fight for it. In order to fight for the secret manual of a divine skill, no one responded to Fire Cloud, evil god. Indeed, their thoughts were no longer on this place. Even Gong's son Shiyu, who had just brought an unprecedented crisis to the land of Kelowna, didn't pay much attention at this time. Only Father Stella's exasperated voice sounded from time to time, cursing from time to time, "Wastrel woman, she screwed me over," and so on. Taking off the clown mask on his face and giving it to the maid beside him, Boss Luo showed a trace of a smile in the white clouds. In the white clouds, a blue figure slowly appeared. The manager of the Subworld 003, Araya. "Last time I asked you to change the script, which also delayed the restart time you set. I said I wouldn't let you work for nothing," Boss Luo said indifferently. "Then, let's start with the fight for these black cards." Araya of the Subworld 003 nodded silently. As for whether Araya of the Subworld 003 had completed the new script in front of the Supreme Root Authority, it was no longer a problem. RIP. Tearful hashtag PS1. I fell asleep. Overslept, so this chapter is late. PS2. Thanks to Old Wong Next Door, Old Wong Next Door, Old Wong Next Door, Old Wong Next Door. For being cute, I'm willing to be your neighbor's wife. Gentler. PS3. 0/2. PS4. As usual. Chapter 1965. The World Transcendence Summit would be suspended for half a day. Other than that, there was no other explanation. Even without any explanation, people could easily understand. In the Global Live broadcast just now, a transcendent with enough power to suppress the world appeared to God. And there were also 99 black cards scattered around the world that could grant any wish. No matter who it was, as long as they had this voucher, they would have the ability to grant wishes. No matter who it was. No matter who it was. Just now, a large number of card hunting teams appeared in the inhuman domain. I'm afraid they were all temporarily formed. In the resting room of the Magician Association, Zhong Luoyue looked up from a tablet computer and said slowly, "That's right. I'm not sure what to do." "Hunting what? Card hunting teams?" The Crimson Blaze Tower Master suddenly frowned. "I shouted it at the last minute." Zhong Luoyue quickly said, "The goal of these teams is very simple. They're all looking for the black cards scattered around the world. So, they're card hunting teams." "Card hunting?" The Ice Tower Master rubbed her eyebrows and said in a strange tone, "This reminds me of those poachers who hunt for ivory on the grassland. In the past half an hour, there were more than 1,000 records of non-humans entering the inhuman domain. They came to the modern world. I'm afraid there will be more records of entering and exiting." Zhong Luoyue said again, "Should we temporarily shut down the inhuman domain's entry and exit function?" "Shut down? What reason do we use to shut it down?" The Crimson Blaze Tower Master sneered. "I'm afraid there are many people in our association who have the same idea at this time. So powerful. With just a few words, the whole world is going to face a terrible disaster. Why can't I do the same?" "They want power." The Ice Tower Master looked at her husband helplessly, the kind of power that can take away all the transcendent powers in the world in an instant. The Crimson Blaze Tower Master couldn't help but mutter. They were in the meeting hall of the Forbidden City. Don't think that because they were in the Forbidden City, they didn't feel it that deeply. On the contrary, in the 10 minutes of darkness, they felt it more clearly. In the Forbidden City, their extraordinary powers were completely silenced, but their extraordinary powers did not disappear. They still existed in their bodies. However, during the 10 minutes of darkness, the transcendent power in his body completely disappeared. That was very frightening. At this moment, the Ice Tower Master was silent. The atmosphere in the lounge seemed to have become somewhat stifling. Suddenly, the Ice Tower Master faintly said, "100 years ago, I'm afraid." Farlier wasn't lying. Farrell, the Crimson Blaze Tower Master, muttered this name, and his expression suddenly became unnatural. The two Tower Masters fell into silence again. Jean Luoyue didn't want to disturb him. Her authority was basically borrowed from Elizabeth and the Tower Masters who appreciated her. She couldn't bypass them and directly do anything to the Magician Association. At this moment, Jean Luoyue left the lounge and entered the room. She found Elizabeth hugging her knees and sitting on the bed silently. She didn't know what she was thinking. She sat in front of the vampire girl and reached out to hold her little hand. The vampire's hand was icy cold. Even if she held it, there was no warmth. Still thinking about what happened just now, Jean Luoyue said softly, "Don't worry, it's already over. There shouldn't be any danger now." The vampire girl shook her head and grabbed Jean Luoyue's hand with both hands. Her eyes were shining as she said, That was Brother Luo, just now. I finally saw him." Jean Luoyue couldn't help but smile bitterly. How was this a frightened look? This was clearly the look of a little fangirl who had completely lost her mind. Perhaps Elizabeth didn't have much understanding of the current situation in the world. She had been immersed in the joy of being able to see Brother Luo again. "Yes, I also saw him," Jean Luoyue said softly. "That hateful little boy who told her the story of planet Chiming." Then this little boy suddenly grew up one day. Following him, he stood at the top of the pyramid of the world. He overturned the rain and covered the clouds. With just a thought, he made the whole world tremble and go crazy. "Elizabeth, do you want that black card?" Jean Luoyue suddenly asked. The vampire girl didn't even blink and quickly nodded. "But I'm afraid it won't be easy." Jean Luoyue shook her head. "Now everyone outside wants to get it. No matter who it is, I'm afraid some powerful old mages like the Tower Masters have such thoughts." Then what should we do?" Jean Luoyue stroked her beautiful hair and said softly, "You just have to remember, no matter what happens outside, you're still the Radiance Tower Master's closed-door student. His only student." Elizabeth looked pensive. "Have a good rest." Jean Luoyue patted Elizabeth's head again. "Leave the outside matters to me. I'll handle it with the Scarlet Blaze Tower Master and the others." After saying that, Jean Luoyue covered the little girl with a quilt. Then, she turned off the light and walked out. She actually had a black card in her hands. She stole it from a Zhang family a long, long time ago. 3K. Yes, in the resting room of the extraordinary group, dressed in white robes and white pointed hats. Behind the sofa, the three big men were still lying on the ground with tears in their eyes like crabs. Beside them, Natsuya Suzuki spread his arms on the back of the sofa. He raised his head and looked at the light on the ceiling with lifeless eyes. "Why are you still here?" Cheta-sensei asked calmly. Natsuya Suzuki said unhappily, "My current identity is your bodyguard. If I'm not here, where should I be?" "Didn't your real master show up?" Cheta-sensei said indifferently. "I have to hand in my homework, boss." Natsuya Suzuki shrugged. "Anyway, I'm your bodyguard now," Cheta-sensei suddenly said. "Do you think it's okay for me to let you deal with the master behind you if I want to?" "Sure, no problem at all." Natsuya Suzuki narrowed his eyes and said, "In theory, it's totally okay. But first, you have to be able to afford the price." Cheta-sensei asked curiously, "What price?" "I don't know." Natsuya Suzuki grinned as if he was teasing him. Cheta-sensei tilted his head. "So, there's no way to deal with him, right?" "No. The principle of my shop is that as long as you can afford the price, everything is negotiable and achievable." For the first time, Suzuki Shaya showed a trace of seriousness. "There is no need to doubt it, and there is no doubt about it," Cheta-sensei said indifferently. "Then you don't know what the price I'm talking about is, right?" "I don't know. Just because I don't know, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist." Natsuya Suzuki said indifferently. It's like the problem of whether God can lift a stone that he can't move. The problem doesn't matter whether such a stone exists or not. The essence of the problem is that the existence of this price is a superposition. It doesn't exist, but it exists at the same time. You don't know because you're retarded and can't understand the truth in it. Can I write down this sentence? Cheta-sensei suddenly said. Up to you. Natsuya Suzuki shrugged and then stretched. I'm hungry. Can you get someone to send me some lunchboxes? The lunchboxes in this shabby place are surprisingly good. Cheta-sensei smiled and then picked up the internal phone. Hello. Can you send 2-3 meals to this number's room? Well, it does taste good. Don't move. Stand still. Gongsun Shiyu, White Tiger Clan leader, and Huang Chuan were now shackled with several special shackles. In this city where transcendence were forbidden, these shackles were enough to make them unable to do anything. In the venue, in the command center of the authority, they were brought to a room that was specially treated. Through the glass, many pairs of eyes were sizing up the three of them. The table was now full of metal balls that contained terrible poisonous fog. Apart from Fire Cloud Evil God, there was also Kelowna Shinryu, who didn't look good, and Chi-Chi Kamaya from Xinyuan Palace. The other 3 clan leaders of the 4 spirits were also here. Purple Star, the young master of greed, was also here. As for Dao Sect, they weren't here. Dao Sect had nothing to do with this terrible attack. Chi-Chi Kamaya stared at Gongsun Shiyu for a long time. In the end, he frowned and pressed the communicator. Facing the room behind the mirror, he said in a deep voice, "You look exactly the same. Are you really Gongsun Shiyu? Or do you just look like him?" Gongsun Shiyu just chuckled and didn't respond. Chi-Chi Kamaya frowned and released the button of the microphone. He looked back at the people behind him in confusion. Longshaw suddenly said, "He must look like this. He must be Gongsun Shiyu." The guy took off his disguise. I can't be wrong. That guy? Chi-Chi Kamaya was startled. Then he reacted, "Lord Long is talking about that guy, right?" The old turtle suddenly didn't know how to address this godly person. This person had reached, or even surpassed, the definition of a godly person. "Yes, it's that profiteer," Kelowna Shinryu said angrily. "What are you doing?" He hung his head dejectedly, as if his mother had died. "Isn't he just a shameless profiteer? Weren't you all very arrogant before? Son of a bitch. I am a son of a bitch." Chi-Chi Kamaya said seriously. Kelowna Shinryu was so angry that he shivered. All right, old turtle. Don't be angry with Master Long Jun. Ming Tushan, who was still a little weak, was busy fighting. Let's deal with this first. Currently, we don't know if this Gongsun Shiyu is hiding anything in this place. There won't be. Long Shiraw shook his head. As long as that profiteer makes a move, there won't be any more. Even if the whole world wants to level this city with nuclear weapons, it won't work. Fire Cloud, Evil God, heard this and frowned. Kelowna Shinryu snorted coldly. "Old man, you're so stubborn." Fire Cloud, Evil God, smiled bitterly. "Lord Long, you worry too much. I'm just worried about some people's thoughts." Kelowna Shinryu said indifferently, "I believe that those guys who are making decisions behind your back won't dare to do anything as long as their brains aren't on their butts." Fire Cloud, Evil God, ignored him and turned to look at Gongsun Shiyu and the other 2. He thought for a moment and said, "Mr. Turtle, although this person is from the Xinyuan Palace, the agency won't let him go so easily. If he doesn't reveal his accomplices, then forgive the agency for not being able to return him to the Xinyuan Palace." Chi-Chi Kamaya thought for a moment and said, "This is a serious matter, and I can't make a decision. However, Gongsun Shiyu can be detained by the agency for the time being. As for the follow-up, I'll need to return to the Xinyuan Palace and discuss it with the new division leader of the Qin Division. Before that, I hope you can send someone to watch over Gongsun Shiyu as well." "Of course." Fire Cloud, Evil God, nodded. "I'll send Ghost Child to watch over Gongsun Shiyu with you for the time being," Chi-Chi Kamaya added. "After this meeting, I'll return to the Xinyuan Palace immediately. I'm afraid the next meeting won't be easy." Fire Cloud, Evil God, sighed and shook his head. "Let's deal with things one by one. The most important thing now is to find the list of traitors from the agency. What followed next would be an extremely difficult interrogation. After all, these transcendents were all strong-willed people, and they wouldn't easily submit to the punishment of interrogation. At this time, there was news that a passageway had been opened up in the mountain of earth and rocks that surrounded the entire forbidden domain because of the floating flame flag. In fact, it was easy to open because it was a place where power could be used. However, to open such a huge mountain of earth and rock was not something that could be done in a short time. However, the culprit behind the floating flame flag that surrounded the city of abstinence had not been found yet. Gongsun Shiyu was in the center of the meeting, so it was impossible for her to have the ability to control the floating flame flag from so far away. Then, there must be an accomplice outside. No matter what, after this incident, the accomplice behind Gongsun Shiyu probably won't dare to do anything bad in this city. Fire Cloud, evil god, breathed a sigh of relief. This was probably the only thing that he was really thankful for today. A disaster that might be related to the chaos of the demon clan in Kelowna disappeared just like that. Hey, since the interrogation is about to begin, old man, ask someone to bring some boxed lunches. Long Shu yawned and said, "In this lousy place of yours, the boxed lunches taste good." "Oh, okay, I'll arrange it." On a big rock on a mountain peak outside the city of abstinence, a cold-looking young man with a silver artificial hand was sitting cross-legged. He was holding a satellite phone in his hand. Well, this operation has ended in failure, and the new experimental subject has fallen into the hands of the agency, the cold-looking young man. Gongsun Jishui said calmly, "It doesn't matter. I said that it doesn't matter if it succeeds or not, as long as it's done. Isn't this interesting? A failed operation can usher in such a wonderful show on the world stage. Fortunately, I wasn't practicing just now, or I'm afraid that I would have gone mad and exploded. Will the other seats in the club? They're probably thinking about how to kill me. It doesn't matter. These guys have already lost their vitality. It doesn't matter whether I stay in this club or not. I only care about the fool. You can play with the city of abstinence by yourself. I'm going to continue my closed-door training. You can deal with the captured experimental subject when you have time. Wait until the agency plans to transport it away." Gongsun Jishui shook his head and said, "You'll find a way." At this moment, the signal was cut off. Gongsun Jishui sighed slowly, stood up, and then went down the mountain, quickly disappearing. Hashtag, 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 hashtag PS. 1/2. Chapter 1966. It was already evening. Since the live broadcast of the summit meeting in the afternoon was suspended, the world's public opinion was in an uproar. The most searched keyword on the internet was, "Who is he? Is the black card real?" The discussion about this matter had overshadowed all the transcendent organizations that had been shown to the world. What's more, because the 99 black cards were scattered all over the world, it was also jokingly called the Great Black Card Era by the netizens. "Hey, did you dig out the black card today? It's menstruation." It was Li Zi's voice. Annie Ren and Li Zi of the third-rate magazine left the venue early because of the suspension of the meeting. There were a lot of things that happened today. Ren Xiling didn't return to the newspaper office, but drove Li Zi home directly. "Welcome back." At this time, the servant girl was wearing a pink apron and holding a wooden spatula in her hand. She greeted them with a smile. Li Zi had already smelled the aroma of the food from the kitchen. She was so hungry that she sucked her finger. She was looking forward to the food eagerly. "Did everything go well today?" Miss May took over Annie Ren's handbag and asked softly. "Don't mention it." Annie Ren dragged her body forward a few steps and threw herself on the sofa. She said weakly, "You also watched the live broadcast. Do you think it went well? Let me prepare a towel for you to wipe your face." Miss May said softly. Annie Ren got up at once and waved her hand quickly. "No need. You haven't married into my family yet. Li Zi can do these things. Li Zi, why don't you get a towel for me?" Li Zi was still waiting for food. She pointed to her face and said, "I don't think I'm married into your family yet." Okay, I'll marry you tomorrow. I'll carry you on the big red flower bridge." Auntie Rin stared at her and said, "Come to my room tonight." Lizzie suddenly shuddered and ran to wash the towel in trepidation. Miss Maid couldn't help but smile as if she was amused. She then poured a glass of water for Auntie Run. Rin Xiling suddenly asked, "Where's Luaccio? Is he not in the room?" The servant girl said casually, "We ran out of some seasonings at home, so he went out to buy some." "Oh." Auntie Rin nodded thoughtfully. "Is there anything special? I can call him and ask him to come back earlier." "In fact, it's nothing important. It's just—" Rin Xiling shook her head and immediately sat up straight. She looked at Miss Maid and said, "You also watched the live broadcast in the afternoon, right? The masked man who appeared at the venue this afternoon? I've actually seen him once before." Miss Maid looked a little surprised. Her mouth was slightly open and her expression was on point. "You've met him before?" "Well, I've seen him once." Rin Xiling nodded. "It should have been last year, but I still remember it clearly. At that time, I was stubborn and pretended to be a believer to infiltrate an illegal organization. Later, I was discovered and almost couldn't walk out. It was this mysterious clown mask that saved me today. At that time, I thought he was a martial arts master. I didn't expect him to be such a big shot." As she spoke, Auntie Rin hugged a pillow and leaned back. While thinking, she said, "You weren't at the venue at that time, but Lizzie and I were at the venue. We were so scared that we were trembling. There were so many transcendent representatives, but none of them dared to raise their heads." "So what?" Auntie Rin shook her head and then said excitedly, "Actually, you don't say. It's quite satisfying to see these extraordinary representatives being defeated one by one. This is probably the mentality of a small fry, right? I know it's wrong, but I just want to do it a few more times. It's cool. It's really cool." "I see." Miss Maid smiled and said, "It turns out that you like this kind of people. Maybe you'll have a chance in the future." I'm just saying. How could it be possible?" Auntie Rin smiled and said, "I'm not familiar with them. But to be honest, I always felt that I had seen them somewhere, that man and woman." With that said, Rin Xiling subconsciously looked at Miss Maid and said seriously, "It seems that you and the clown girl next to the clown mask man are quite similar in figure." Why can't I remember what their voices sound like?" "Maybe I'm the clown girl," Miss Maid said with a smile. Auntie Rin patted Miss Maid's face intimately. "I thought you didn't know how to joke. If you're really the clown girl, then I'll be rich. Tomorrow, I can punch the kindergarten of the Kelowna administration and kick the elementary school monk of the Magician Association." "What elementary school monk?" Lizzie came out with a wet towel at this time. "I said you're an elementary school monk." Auntie Rin rushed over at this time with a smile and scratched Lizzie's waist. They started to play like this. No matter what happened outside, it didn't seem to matter when they returned home. This place was like a safe haven. Late at night, Luaccio came back with a small bag. He saw that Miss Maid was not preparing dinner at this time. Only a simple evening light was turned on in the room. Miss Ren and Miss Lizzie are probably too tired. After washing up, they fell asleep directly. Miss Maid came forward and said softly. Boss Luo smiled and said, "They must be scared today. They'll be fine after sleep. It should be very peaceful tonight." "No." Miss Maid pursed her lips and smiled. "Miss Ren looks very happy." "Happy?" Boss Luo was stunned. Sometimes he really couldn't figure out Auntie Ren's brain circuit and the little drama in her mind. "It's a secret." Miss Maid chuckled. Boss Luo smiled and immediately said, "Is the thing ready?" "Yes, it's ready. It's on the table in the master's room." Miss Maid nodded. "It's the introduction of some interesting subworlds that I've experienced before. I'll read it later." Song Dynasty Hotel. Not long after the meeting was temporarily stopped, the people from the Tao Association had successfully returned under the arrangement of Song Howren. Moreover, Song Howren had also arranged a conference hall. Compared to the Demon Race Association, the Tao Association was more efficient in gathering people. Originally, under the guidance of Song Howren, many elders from various sects came this time. This time, there are a total of 37 reclusive seniors who chose to undergo the tribulation in order to break through to a higher realm. In the quiet conference hall, only Song Howren's voice slowly sounded. The latest statistics are out. There are a total of 32 seniors who failed to undergo the tribulation and died. They are, with the names appearing one by one, the expressions of the elders in the Tao Association became more and more serious. After the names of the martyrs were announced, Song Howren looked around and said in a slightly low voice, "This time, 3 seniors in the Tao Association have succeeded in overcoming the tribulation. Although the remaining 2 failed, they are safe and sound. It's very fortunate. 3 of them succeeded. It's already a good result." The 100 Tribulations Taoist said slowly, "Before the revival of spiritual qi, I'm afraid no one would succeed. Otherwise, these seniors wouldn't have remained in seclusion until now. Everyone, since 3 seniors have succeeded, it's a joyous occasion for the Tao Association. President, even if these 3 seniors succeed, they'll only reach the same realm as you." A Taoist shook his head, "And before you, President, the immortal path that seems to have been broken but hasn't been broken yet. For so many years, only Lai Kai-shing borrowed the great tribulation of the common people to reverse the situation and transcend. The immortal path is still difficult for us. Don't we have a black card?" Another Taoist suddenly said, "The person who appeared today might have a way to reopen the immortal path in Kelowna. As long as we can find the black card, we still have a chance." The 100 Tribulations Taoist looked at these people expressionlessly and didn't say anything. In the end, he only glanced at Song Howren. Regarding the Tao Association's reaction to the black card, he had already had a short discussion with Song Howren and the other representatives of the Tao Association on the way back. "Seniors," Song Howren said, "please listen to me. Little Song, go ahead." For this young man who had helped the various sects and was able to please others, the elders of the various sects found him very pleasing to the eye and were willing to give him a chance to speak. "The black card is a very important matter," Song Howren said seriously. "Now, it can be said that the entire world's attention is focused on these 99 black cards. However, these black cards are now scattered all over the world. Seniors, you should know how big the world is. Searching for these 99 black cards in this world is like searching for a needle in a haystack. It's very difficult. Little Song, from what you're saying, is our Tao Association going to give up on searching for the black cards this time?" A dissatisfied voice sounded. "How can that be?" Song Howren shook his head. "Every black card represents a transaction opportunity, and this opportunity brings about any wish that can be fulfilled as long as one is willing to pay the price. We can't guarantee that these wishes of the holder will not bring about a situation that is disadvantageous to our Tao Association. We Tao Association cultivators can adapt to the will of the heavens. We can sail against the current, but ultimately, we still follow our hearts. We cultivate our bodies, our hearts, and our nature. We can resist the temptation of the black card and use it to train ourselves. We search for the black card only to return peace to the world and to prevent people like Gongsun Shiyu from using the power of the black card to wreak havoc in Kelowna. Therefore, we must find a black card. We must find it and guard it well." The various elders of the Tao Association all felt that this little Song was a genius. He could fool his friends and speak nicely. He could even make his words sound so dignified and likable. That's right. We can choose not to use the black card, but we definitely can't let it fall into the hands of thieves. We Tao Association cultivators are responsible for upholding justice in Kelowna. Song Howren glanced at the 100 Tribulations Taoist. The 100 Tribulations Taoist had already narrowed his eyes, as if he was completely indifferent. Song Howren understood and took the opportunity to say, "Seniors, I suggest that from now on, the Tao Association should create a small team that is responsible for collecting the black card. But our opponents will definitely be the major transcendent organizations in the world. Therefore, I hope that those who can be selected into this team are the true elites of the major sections." Well said. If not for my old age, I would have done it if I could. How about this? I have a closed-door disciple who is very suitable. Little Song, please guide him well. I also have a disciple. The Tao Association's private meeting tonight will probably pass while the name list is being finalized. Song Howren thought to himself. Just after nightfall, Nan Xiaonan was hiding in an alley, watching the commotion on the internet with her cell phone. To be honest, she also wanted the black card. But compared to what she was going to do, the black card was nothing. As long as she could find the door with the corresponding key, she could even directly become the owner of the 99 black cards. Oh, she should be an employee. For this test, Nan Xiaonan was ready to risk everything. She even didn't care about her own image. Why did she say so? Let's take a look at the appearance of this witch from the academy in the other world. He was wearing a particularly old-fashioned, yellowish-white short-sleeved shirt, jeans, and black water boots. That's right, the black waterproof boots that were worn by fishmongers in the wet market. Not only that, she was also wearing a cheap black rubber apron and yellow rubber gloves. She was sitting on a small stool that was as high as her palm. Washing the dishes. She was washing the bowls and chopsticks from a small restaurant in the city. She felt that she could be called Aunt Nan at this moment. After a while, a figure appeared at the entrance of the alley. He looked in and then walked in. It was Mr. Jean from the second-hand electrical appliance store. Mr. Jean seemed to be surprised to meet this girl who even wanted to bargain for a second-hand electric fan in this place. Standing in front of the red basin with tableware, Mr. Jean frowned, looking at Nan Xiaonan, who was squatting on a stool that couldn't be any lower. He couldn't help but ask, "Why are you here?" "It's you?" Nan Xiaonan raised her head in surprise, then wiped the sweat from her forehead to her shoulder. "The boss of the second-hand shop. Why are you here?" "I want to buy something," Mr. Jean said indifferently, then immediately said, "You haven't answered my question." Nan Xiaonan shrugged and said, "I'm just working. What else can I do? The #1 mansion at the end of the street is full of technicians. I have no choice but to find a job to pay the rent and food." Mr. Jean was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "Do you really want to apply for a technician? What's wrong with being a technician?" Nan Xiaonan frowned. "Who are you looking down on? I make money with my own hands. I don't rely on anyone. Why do you care if I'm a dishwasher or a technician? It's none of your business." "I don't mean that." Mr. Jean shook his head, "Sorry for bothering you." With that, Mr. Jean slowly retreated from the alley. At this time, Nan Xiaonan rolled her eyes and began to wash the bowls and chopsticks in the basin with all her might. But after a while, Mr. Jean suddenly turned back. "It's hot. Don't get heat stroke." Mr. Jean put down a bottle of mineral water beside Nan Xiaonan. "Hypocrite," Nan Xiaonan snorted. Mr. Jean didn't say anything, just left silently. And this time, he really left. Chapter 1967. On the second day of the World Transcendent Summit, the organizer announced that the summit would be suspended for another day. The summit would resume on the third day as originally planned. People, no matter if they were transcendents or modern society, they all needed more time to digest what happened on the afternoon of the first day of the summit. However, in the circle of transcendence, in just one night, many groups or individuals had popped up looking for the black card. What's more, some people had started to set up an information network about the black card. A website called Black Card was quietly launched, and its completion rate was so high that it surprised people. This was obviously not a portal that could be written by human beings. However, no one could find the server of this Black Card website in a short time. It seemed to have appeared out of thin air, and in just one night, it appeared in all the major information channels. With such intensive publicity, the number of online registrations on this Black Card website had exceeded 10 million in just one night. It's mainly about sharing any information about the Black Card, and there's no membership system or anything like that. Currently, it doesn't seem like it's for profit. It's just a platform for sharing information. The appearance of the Black Card website naturally attracted the attention of the Kelowna administration. However, even the administration's technical department couldn't find out where this website was located. Fire Cloud, Evil God, threw the report full of question marks on the table. He had just returned from the interrogation room, where Gongsun Shiyu was interrogated. The result of the overnight interrogation was not satisfactory. It could even be said that there was no result at all. Whether it was Gongsun Shiyu, the acting chief of the White Tiger race, or Huang Chuan, they were all stubborn people. Of course, it was also because they were in a forbidden place and many transcendence interrogation methods couldn't be used. I can only send them out for interrogation. Fire Cloud, Evil God frowned. Once these guys were sent out of the city, it was very likely that their accomplices would try to break them out. However, As the person in charge of the Kelowna administration, who initiated the summit, Firecloud, Evil God, couldn't leave the main venue to personally escort them. Consultant. An agent knocked on the door and entered. What's the matter? Firecloud, Evil God frowned. The agent quickly said, Consultant, Section Chief Yin has been asking to see you. Did you forget? Oh, that's right. Firecloud, Evil God, pinched the space between his brows as if he was tired. He smiled bitterly and said, I was only thinking about interrogating Gongsun Shiyu. I almost forgot. Let him in. After a while, Yin Xiaoxi, who was wearing a coat and looking pale, walked over slowly with the help of the police detectives. You can leave first. Firecloud, Evil God waved his hand and gestured for the agents to leave. He then personally came over to support Yin Xiaoxi. Teacher, let's sit down first. Firecloud, Evil God waved his hand and said, You're injured. You shouldn't be walking right now. It's not a big deal. Yin Xiaoxi shook her head and said, It's a pity that I woke up too late yesterday. If I had woken up earlier, I might have been able to inform you in time. However, I didn't expect that Song Jin Shui and the rest of the four spirit clans had already made arrangements with you. Fortunately, Gongsun Shiyu's plan didn't succeed in the end. Firecloud, Evil God, shook his head and said, I dare not accept this credit. If that mysterious person hadn't appeared yesterday, we might not have been able to get through the crisis. More than 100 poison fogballs, once they were released in this city, I'm afraid the city of Forbidden would have become a dead city today. This group of people is simply deranged. Inhumane. Yin Xiaoxi gritted her teeth and said, Oh right, teacher, did you guys get anything out of Gongsun Shiyu and the others? Not yet. Firecloud, Evil God, shook his head. Normal interrogation methods are useless against these guys. I'm thinking about whether to send them back to the headquarters for interrogation. Yin Xiaoxi nodded and said, You can leave this to me. You? Firecloud, Evil God frowned. Yin Xiaoxi nodded and said, My injuries aren't serious. It's just that my recovery is slower here. I'll be fine once I'm out of the city. Firecloud, Evil God pondered for a moment, then nodded slowly and said, All right, at such a sensitive time, I really can't leave. It looks like I'll have to trouble you. I'll arrange for people immediately. This time, besides you, the Xianyuan Palace should also send people to escort you. It should be much safer. Xianyuan Palace? Yin Xiaoxi couldn't help but frown. Firecloud, Evil God, said casually, What's the problem? Gongsun Shiyu was originally the son of the head of the Qian division of the Xianyuan Palace. His identity is special and sensitive. Chichi Kamaya of the Xianyuan Palace requested that when we interrogate him, there must be people from the Xianyuan Palace following us. We can't refuse. No problem. Yin Xiaoxi nodded, then said, Then I'll go make the preparations right away. Go. Firecloud, Evil God nodded and said, I should also think about how to proceed with the meeting tomorrow. After Yin Xiaoxi left, Firecloud, Evil God found Chichi Kamaya's phone number and made a call. Old Tortoise, you can arrange for people on your side. I plan to escort Gongsun Shiyu and the other two to the headquarters of the administration. All right, I'll give you the time and place later. That's all. There were very few people on the streets, but there were many police cars patrolling the streets. At the periphery of the city, there was a huge mud wall erected by extraordinary power. The people in the city had been terrified for a whole day. Although the government had already stepped in and soon the mud wall would be broken down and part of the traffic would be restored, they were still afraid. Officer Ma had not returned home for a day and a night. During this time, he was outside working together with Yin. He had already informed his superior in the police station and only said that he was not feeling well and needed to take 2 days off. As for the problem of maintaining order at the extraordinary summit, to be honest, Officer Ma felt that it was a good idea. With the National Security Department, the Kelowna administration, and even the troops from the military, a small police officer like him was dispensable. Even if there was a problem with extraordinary matters, as an ordinary person, he could not help. It was better for him to do something that was more suitable for him. For example, chasing after wanted criminals or something like that. The organization Yi Yin mentioned, ice cream pudding, was to old Ma's liking. It was said that the members of this organization were just a group of ordinary people, but they had succeeded in killing many extraordinary creatures hidden in society one after another. Not to mention the danger of this ordinary person organization. Old Ma saw the possibility of ordinary people from this organization. Officer Ma, who was middle-aged and no longer hot-blooded, did not know why he suddenly had an impulse to have something to do with this organization when he knew of its existence. The impulse of an adult was often uncontrollable at some inadvertent moment. Many shops on the street are closed today. I ran a long way to get some food. Let's eat first. In an interview car parked on the street, Ma Hao quickly took out ready-to-eat food from the bag. This interview car was arranged by Yi Yan's organization. At this time, besides Yi Yan, there was another young guy in the car. He was in his early 20s, and his name was Yelgo. He was originally a local police officer in Russia and later became Yi Yan's new partner. They had worked together for a year, and during this period, they had solved many dangerous crimes together. Because of Yi Yan's relationship, Yelgo had been learning the Chinese language and was now at the stage of normal communication. There should be 2 more similar tracking cars disguised as interview cars in the city of Forbidden Zones. This time, Yi Yan's Interpol had sent a small team of people to deal with him. There's one thing I still don't quite understand. Old Ma bit the sandwich at this time and said, logically speaking, if it's just a general international crime and transnational pursuit, it's understandable for you to take part in it. But this time, it's a murder case of non-human creatures. Shouldn't this be the problem of the extraordinary forces themselves? Don't tell me that these arrogant, transcendent, and inhuman beings need the help of Interpol. Yelgo, cover your ears. Ian suddenly said. Yelgo shrugged at this time and obediently covered his ears and quickly said, I can't hear anything, don't know. What are you doing? Old Ma looked confused at this time. Ian smiled and said, now one of the people in charge of our organization, his other identity is the deacon of the Magician Association. Magician Association? The association on the live broadcast? Old Ma's eyes widened at this time. The deacon of the association is your immediate superior. Believe me, when I knew it, my reaction was not much better than yours. Ian said casually, but this kind of thing, you'll get used to it. In fact, you can understand if you think about it carefully. Since there has always been an organization like the Kelowna administration in our motherland, how can there not be one in Europe? There are so many extraordinary and inhuman creatures in the world. It's impossible for them to be active in human society without leaving any traces. That's true. Sir Ma nodded slowly. Ian said, the association is mainly in charge of the inhuman realm, acting as a police. But this doesn't mean that the association won't care about things in the modern world. The best way to deal with human society is to use the system and organization of human society itself. The Interpol is the most suitable organization for this. So one of the heads of the Interpol has always been the deacon of the association. Don't think that the status of the deacon is low in the association. In fact, in the association, except for the Supreme Tower Masters, the deacons of the association are the deacons of the association. You know a lot. Officer Ma shook his head. I feel that we are 2 people from 2 different worlds. It's just different opportunities. Ian said casually, when there are some special guys around you, you can't not know this knowledge over time. Around me? Ma howled, subconsciously looked at Yelgo, who was still covering his ears. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Ian squinted at this time and smiled. This guy is actually a werewolf. Werewolf? How? Officer Ma swallowed his saliva as if he had heard a wolf's roar. However, he saw Yelgo reveal his bright, white teeth and smile. Don't worry. Yelgo is a vegetarian. He won't hurt you. Ian patted old Ma's shoulder. Besides, your old skin is tough. It's not delicious. Old Ma nodded stiffly. At this moment, his phone on the table rang, and there was a message. Old Ma quickly picked it up and glanced at it. There's a clue. Ma Howd calmed down and said, I asked someone about the photo of Mr. Jean you gave me. I have an informant here who seems to have seen it before. Oh, you found it so fast? Yi Yan's eyes brightened. You're the local bully. How did you find it? Yesterday, a few energetic young men were beaten up. They didn't dare to report the case, so they thought of finding someone to take revenge on. Coincidentally, my informant is also out to mingle and encountered this incident in a bar. Ian seemed to be deep in thought. I want to see these guys who were beaten up. I'll arrange it. I see. Give me 2 more days off. Autopsy? You can do it yourself. Xiao Bao, you're an adult. You can face the corpse alone. Listen, no matter what you do to the corpse, I won't care. Come on. That's it, I'm busy. Me? Once the phone was hung up, Nan Xiaonan with messy hair took out the key and opened the iron door of the dirty rental house in the city. As soon as she entered the room, this Miss Demoness of the Otherworld Academy directly opened a can of happy tea. Then, she opened the bedside cabinet and took out a Barbie doll whose mouth was sealed with a Band-Aid. The Barbie doll's eyes were blinking at this time, and its hands and feet were struggling. Then, Lady Nin tore off the Band-Aid on the Barbie doll's mouth. Before the Barbie doll, who was temporarily created outside the city, spoke, Nan Xiaonan had thrown the doll directly into the washing machine. Close the door. After that, Lady Nan went straight to bed to sleep. Only on the washing machine, a certain Barbie doll's mouth popped out some words from time to time. Interview? Okay. Wait. I'll write down the address first. Well, I'm alone 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No problem, no problem. I will come on time. Before lunchtime, Mr. Jean suddenly walked out of his small room. He went directly to the hacker Bernard, who was responsible for intelligence collection. Are you free now? There's nothing to do. Bernard said casually, I'm trying to break the background of this black card website. I dare say that more than 90% of the hackers in the world now want to do this. Oh, what's the matter? Help me check the details of this company. Mr. Jean said and wrote the name of a company directly on the paper. Pumi Modeling Agency. Hashtag, 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 hashtag PS. As usual. End of this chapter. Chapter in 1968. Hello. I'm here for an interview. I received an appointment call this morning. In front of the receptionist stood a woman in a black business suit, carrying a woman's briefcase. Nan Xiaonan. Oh, Lady Nan, right? The receptionist smiled. Please come with me. The manager is interviewing another one. Please wait for a moment. It's okay, I'll wait. Nan Xiaonan quickly said. She quickly asked the receptionist to lead her to the reception room. After the receptionist poured a glass of water, she left Nan Xiaonan alone to wait. After a while, a man in his 30s in a suit pushed the door open. The man was holding a resume in his hand. Lady Nan, right? I'm a manager of this agency, surnamed Chun. Hello, Manager Chun. Like an ordinary job seeker, she quickly stood up and was polite and courteous. Manager Chun looked up and down at Nan Xiaonan, glanced at her cup, then nodded. Turn around. Turn around? Nan Xiaonan couldn't help but be stunned. Of course. Manager Chun said expressionlessly, this is a modeling agency. We're hiring models. If you don't show me, how do I know if you're suitable? Therefore, this academic which from his subworld spun around twice at once. In the end, she pressed her hands on her thighs and squatted with her hips slightly raised. She revealed a silly smile and blinked her eyes wildly. Manager Chun, do you think I have a chance? Manager Chun frowned and said, you're a bit old-fashioned, but your body shape is good. It should be no problem. Well, come with me. Let's try the lens. Nan Xiaonan was overjoyed, following Manager Chun, walked for a while, and came to a studio. At this time, another man was standing in front of a tripod, adjusting the camera. There was no other decoration except for a reflector, a light, and a high wooden stool. The whole studio was very simple. This is our photographer. You can stand in the middle now. Manager Chun pointed and said, you just have to follow whatever he tells you to do later. Got it. Nan Xiaonan nodded, walking to the designated place obediently. After Manager Chun exchanged a look with the photographer at this time, he nodded and then walked to the side. After looking at the time on his watch, he leaned against the wall and didn't speak. The photographer said, okay, take off your jacket first. Unbutton 1 or 2 buttons at the collar. Yes, just like that. Make your hair a little messy. Yes, just like that. Look at me and put your hands down. Very good. Today's OL style is not bad. Again. The lights kept flashing. At this time, Nan Xiaonan suddenly stopped. Manager Chun, is there no air conditioning here? I feel very hot. Manager Chun smiled and said, with so many lights shining on you, you will definitely feel hot. That's how a model's job is. If you can't stand it, we can stop. No, I'm fine. I can stand it. No problem at all. Then let's continue. Manager Chun nodded and said. Nan Xiaonan hurriedly said at this time, Wait, can you stop for a while? What now? Nan Xiaonan pointed at her eyes and said, Manager Chun, can I touch up my makeup first? Look, I'm sweating, and my makeup is all over. No matter how good the photographer is, he can't save me. I'll go to the bathroom to touch up my makeup. So troublesome. Manager Chun frowned, then impatiently pointed to the passage next to the studio. Go in there, go straight. Hurry up, I have other interviews later. Soon. Seeing Nan Xiaonan hurrying to the bathroom at this time, Manager Chun looked at the photographer at this time. After nodding to each other, Manager Chun went directly to the entrance of the studio and gently pressed the lock on the door. At this time, the door lock suddenly turned, then was pushed from the outside and directly hit Manager Chun, knocking him back and finally falling to the ground. In front of the mirror in the bathroom, Nan Xiaonan was carefully touching up her eyeliner. Suddenly, the door of the bathroom was opened with a bang. Nan jumped in fright. Her hand trembled, and the eyebrow pencil instantly scratched her ear. Nan Xiaonan flew into a rage on the spot and cursed loudly. Are you blind? Can't you see that there's someone here? You are, aren't you? Mr. Jean, why are you here? At the entrance of the washroom, a man wearing a hat was standing there expressionlessly. Without responding to Nan Xiaonan's words, Mr. Jean directly walked up, grabbed Nan Xiaonan's arm, and pulled her out of the bathroom. Wait, what are you doing? Let me go. Damn you. What do you want to do? Nan Xiaonan suddenly shouted in horror. Walking out of the bathroom and into the studio, Nan Xiaonan instantly saw the photographer and Manager Chun lying on the ground. Manager Chun was still painfully covering his crotch, cold sweat dripping down his face, and his face was pale. You hit me? At this time, Nan Xiaonan widened her eyes. However, Mr. Jean pulled her all the way out, ignoring Nan Xiaonan's struggle, all the way out of the building and all the way to an alley. Nan Xiaonan fiercely bit Mr. Jin's arm at this time. This bite was definitely a brute force, but Mr. Jean didn't loosen his grip. After biting for a while, Nan Xiaonan loosened her mouth in horror, saying inconceivably, You're not a human. Don't you feel pain? I don't feel pain, Mr. Jean said indifferently. But at this time, he also let go of Nan Xiaonan's arm. Nan Xiaonan suddenly stepped back in horror, covering her chest with both hands. What do you want to do? I don't know you very well. Do you know what this company does? Mr. Jean said indifferently. Before you find a job, don't you know it first? What does it have to do with you? Nan Xiaonan was furious at this time. Do you know what you've done? Damn it. My money. You still want money at this time. Mr. Jean shook his head. Forget it. You go back, as if I've never been here. You know what you'll face in your heart. You're willing to degrade yourself. Bastard, who are you talking about? Make it clear. It was as if someone had stepped on her tail. She was like a tigress, glaring fiercely at Mr. Jean. I didn't say anything goodbye. Mr. Jean turned around, ignoring her. Nan Xiaonan directly rushed at this time, grabbing Mr. Jin's collar, saying fiercely, Do you think I don't know they put drug in my cup? Do you think I really drank it? Mr. Jean couldn't help frowning. At this time, Nan Xiaonan took out her mobile phone in a flurry, and then took out a miniature lens from her lady's briefcase. Mr. Jean silently looked at the camera on Nan Xiaonan's mobile phone screen. He found that it was all the things that happened after entering the modeling company. Are you investigating them? Mr. Jin's brows couldn't help but furrow deeper. His gaze towards Nan Xiaonan also became somewhat fierce. This is called a secret investigation. Do you understand? Damn it. Nan Xiaonan was annoyed. This modeling company cheated many ignorant students. They purposely put drugs in the water and then took some indecent photos of the girls who came up. It was a tried and true method, but there was no evidence, and they couldn't be caught. I know a reporter. He told me that as long as I could expose, he would pay me. It's all because of you. It's all because of you. My money is gone, and I don't need to work in this company anymore. You damn bastard. Mr. Jean was speechless for a while. Then he shook his head with a smile. He looked at Nan Xiaonan, as if he was getting to know her for the first time. You love money, and you're not afraid of death. Have you ever thought about whether you can walk out of this company if you're discovered? Nan Xiaonan rolled her eyes. Do you think I'm stupid? I've made an agreement with my reporter friend. If there's anything wrong, he will come to help me. I'm finished. I even patted my chest and said that I would definitely get the exclusive news. It's all your fault. You pay for it. As she spoke, the fierce Miss Nan directly swung her briefcase and slammed it on Mr. Jin's body with all her might. Mr. Jin frowned, reaching out to grab Nan Xiaonan's wrist, which made her cry out in pain. Then he grabbed Nan Xiaonan's briefcase and threw it on the ground, staring at her expressionlessly. There was a cold light in his eyes. Nan Xiaonan couldn't help shrinking her neck, trembling. Don't mess around. There's so many streets and alleys here. I was the one who shouted, Help! 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 Mr. Jin directly pushed Nan Xiaonan into the wall, reaching out to cover her mouth, saying indifferently, If you shout again, I'll beat you to the ground like I beat the two bastards upstairs. Do you understand? Nan Xiaonan didn't dare to blink, opening her eyes wide, trembling and nodding her head. They're here. At this moment, 6 or 7 youths holding baseball bats and molten iron pipes suddenly appeared in front of the alley. Behind them, there was Manager Chun, who was covering his crotch with an ugly expression. Manager Chun screamed at this time, Don't let any of them go. Catch them for me. Seeing a group of armed young men rushing up, Mr. Jin frowned, glancing at Nan Xiaonan. He didn't choose to go forward, but pulled her, running all the way to the depths of the alley. But he didn't expect that on the other side of the alley, 3 young men also appeared to intercept them. Mr. Jin directly pushed Nan Xiaonan to the ground. Then he twisted his neck. Then he rushed up alone on his horse and started to fight with the 3 youths. At this time, another group of young thugs had caught up with them. In a split second, Mr. Jin dealt with this group of ruthless guys alone. At this time, Mr. Jin waved his hand and grabbed an extendable stick. He hit one person with the stick and hit them back fiercely. In the blink of an eye, a group of young thugs had already fallen to the ground and cried bitterly. The manager, surnamed Chun, had already slipped away by this time. Let's go. Putting away the telescopic stick in his hand, Mr. Jin directly grabbed Nan Xiaonan, who was pale with fright. Unexpectedly, Nan Xiaonan groaned at this time, with cold sweat dripping down. Mr. Jin frowned and pulled up Nan Xiaonan's sleeves. He saw that there was an eye-catching red mark on her white and tender little arm. It should have been caused by the batons in the hands of the thugs during the fight. You didn't hurt the bone. Mr. Jin was silent for a moment, then said indifferently, Go to the pharmacy. I'll buy some medicine for you. No need for you to care. Nan Xiaonan gritted her teeth. I don't care who you are. I don't want to see you in the future. At this time, Nan Xiaonan forcefully shook off Mr. Jin's hand, then hurriedly picked up the things that fell on the ground because of the pull. After hurriedly wiping her eyes, she lowered her head and ran away. But before she ran 2 steps, the heel of the high-heeled shoes she was wearing suddenly broke, and she almost fell to the ground. Mr. Jin moved, as if he was going to go forward, but at this time, Nan Xiaonan steadied herself, then directly took off a pair of shoes, looked back at Mr. Jin in horror, and rushed out of the alley barefoot. He looked at her back as she disappeared into the alley. He was speechless, and then he turned to leave as well. But he seemed to have stepped on something. Mr. Jin looked down. It was a key worn with a string. Later, a sneaky figure peeked out from behind a staircase in the alley, and when she saw that there was no one in the alley, she slowly walked out. Nan Xiaonan. At this time, Lady Nan was holding her briefcase in one hand and a 1-meter long wooden square in the other hand, nervously looking around. Soon, she came to the scene of the fight and then stared at the ground, as if looking for something. She stumbled as she walked because the heel of the other intact high-heeled shoe was also broken, so she walked unnaturally while wearing it. Didn't it fall here? Oh no, did it fall in the company of those bastards above? Ah, so annoying. Nan Xiaonan scratched her head. and her hair looked like a chicken's nest, and finally kicked to the foot of the wall to vent her anger. Why am I so unlucky? She cried out in pain, then leaned against the wall, lowered her head, and stopped moving. Not long after, the sound of sobbing could be heard. She squatted down little by little, hugged her knees, and buried her head in them. Not knowing how long had passed, Nan Xiaonan felt something patted on her shoulder. She moved her shoulder and pushed it away. Then her shoulder was patted again. Nan Xiaonan suddenly became furious. Don't touch me. Can't you even cry to vent your anger in this age? Haven't you seen a person's emotional breakdown? Who wants your kindness? Why is it you again? Why are you following me like a ghost? When Lady Nan came back, she saw Mr. Jean, the owner of the second-hand electrical appliance store. She suddenly trembled and quickly shrank her body and said in a trembling voice, I'm sorry. It's my fault. If I offended you in the past, please forgive me. I'm wrong, okay? Mr. Jean heaved a sigh of relief at this moment. He stretched out his hand, and a key that was strung by a string fell down. Are you looking for this? Looking at the key, Nan Xiaonan's eyes changed at this time. She became lost and snatched the key back from Mr. Jin's hand, then held it tightly in her hand, buried it in her chest, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath. Hashtag, 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 hashtag PS. Two halves. Chapter 1969. Mr. Jean put a bottle of liquor he just bought in front of Nan Xiaonan. They were in an open-air tea house, but there were only 2 or 3 customers here, so it was quite deserted. Nan Xiaonan didn't speak at this time. She directly opened the bottle of liquor and smeared it on her arms and hands. She was as fierce as a tiger, but at the same time, she frowned and grimaced in pain. I didn't expect you to be so resistant to pain. Mr. Jean said casually. Nan Xiaonan didn't raise her head. Why? Do you think I'm a spoiled young lady? It's common for people like me to bump into things. If I cried out in pain for such a small thing, I wouldn't be able to survive. Mr. Jean didn't comment, but said something else. Do you often do things like today? Nan Xiaonan said, if there's something to do, then do it. What else can we do? Don't I need to eat? It's not easy to find a job these days. Why don't you earn money? Do you expect others to support you? By the way, why are you in a modeling company? After saying that, Nan Xiaonan stared at Mr. Jean vigilantly, frowned, and said, are you following me? What do you want to do to me? Nan Xiaonan covered her chest defensively. Mr. Jean sneered disdainfully. I'm here to receive goods. Follow you? What do you have that's worth me following? Receive goods? Nan Xiaonan was surprised. Mr. Jean said indifferently, I'm running a second-hand shop. If I don't receive goods, do I wait for customers to bring goods to sell? Don't they need to eat? He even used almost the same tone as Nan Xiaonan in the end. Nan Xiaonan stared blankly for a moment before bursting into laughter. Well, I couldn't tell. I thought you were the kind of person who was taciturn. I didn't expect you to have a sense of humor. Mr. Jean said casually, I often go around here. I just saw you go upstairs, so I was curious. But I didn't expect you to go to this modeling company. You knew that there was something fishy about this company? Like I said, I often run around here, so I know a little about it. Mr. Jean said ambiguously, it's just that this company's matter has nothing to do with me. Some people fell for it themselves. Just treat it as buying a lesson. Nan Xiaonan shook her head and said, the lesson you're talking about is extremely precious to those girls who have been fooled. Really, people have to be responsible for what they do, whether it's good or bad. Mr. Jean said calmly. All right, you're right. Nan Xiaonan shrugged. Anyway, no matter what, I'll treat you to a meal as thanks for saving me out of kindness and helping me find the key. How about you treat me to a meal? I'm a very fair person. That's all I have for you. It's fine if you don't want to eat it. I can still save some. Eat? Mr. Jean frowned. It's fine if you don't want to, Nan Xiaonan said indifferently. Mr. Jean thought for a while and said, all right, you tell me the time. If there's no problem, I'll ask Bebe to come too. Tonight, Nan Xiaonan said directly. I'm afraid I'll forget about it another day. Then tonight it is. Mr. Jean nodded. Where are we going to eat? Nan Xiaonan said with a smile. Of course, it's more sincere to treat people to a meal at home. Don't think about it. Come to my house for hot pot tonight. The induction cooker I bought from you is quite good. By the way, you said you're here to collect the goods, right? Yes, what's the problem? Nan Xiaonan narrowed her eyes and said, since you're here to collect the goods, you definitely won't walk here. At least, you should have a car to transport the goods. Or, you could take me back, by the way. You see, I have to prepare dinner, right? It's better to save time to prepare more. There was an inner taste, the taste of an idiot, if he didn't take advantage of the situation. Mr. Jean smiled and pointed at the vehicle parked on the opposite side of the road. If you don't mind, I don't have a problem with that. Nan Xiaonan looked over and saw a three-wheeled motorcycle parked on the opposite side of the road. There was an inner taste, the boss of the rags collector and the female worker renting a house in the city. The specially modified armored vehicle slowly drove through a temporary passageway. At this time, nearly 20 passageways had been opened in the huge earthen wall surrounding the city. There was no need to hide the extraordinary power, so the work of opening the passages was much more efficient. In terms of pure destruction, the extraordinary power had an incomparable advantage. But the excavators can also do it. When the number of excavators increases, their speed won't be slow. However, to become an extraordinary early on, it's not something that can be done simply by time. However, when people see that a single person can break a rock with one punch, they scream, I'm your streamer. Hello, Kitty, who fights tigers tonight. I'm currently at the scene for you. Brother Ghost Baby, the car from the administration has arrived. At the end of the passage, a demon from a Xianyuan palace quickly walked to a young man whose hair was dyed in various colors and who was wearing a leather coat full of iron nails. Ghost Baby. Ghost Baby casually turned off the live streaming app on his mobile phone and looked up. In addition to the special armored vehicle used to escort the 3 felons, there were also 4 black cars escorting them. The destination was the airport. If there were no accidents, they would arrive in the capital at around 10 p.m. After a while, the armored vehicle stopped. Yin Xiaoxi jumped down from the front of the vehicle and appeared in front of Ghost Baby. She nodded and said, I know you, Ghost Baby. I didn't expect Elder Gay to send you to escort us. Where are they? Are they in the car? I need to confirm, Ghost Baby said calmly. You can only go in by yourself, Yin Xiaoxi said seriously. Ghost Child shrugged casually and got into the armored vehicle. He observed the 3 criminals through the small window. He saw that Gongsun Shiyu and the other 2 were all unconscious. At the same time, they were wearing specially made restraints. They've been injected with a large amount of tranquilizers, enough for them to sleep until they reach their destination. Yin Xiaoxi said calmly. Also, after they leave the city, the steel magnetic needles that have been inserted into their acupoints will take effect and disrupt the energy in their bodies. They won't be able to escape. Looking at the so-called steel magnetic needles that were inserted into the bodies of the 3 felons, Ghost Baby frowned slightly and said sarcastically, the administration has so many tricks up their sleeves. It seems that if you can't keep up with the times, you'll be bullied sooner or later. Yin Xiaoxi smiled and said, if there's no problem, let's set off. Under the orders of Yin Xiaoxi, the convoy set off again and got on the highway to the airport. The journey was quite smooth. Chief, the consultant asked me to pass this to you before we set off. In the armored vehicle, an agent from the administration took out a porcelain bottle. There are some holy medicines in here. The consultant said that you should take them as soon as you get out of the city. Combined with your healing, your wounds will heal completely in no time. Yin Xiaoxi took the porcelain bottle and nodded. Thank you for your concern, but we can't be careless now. I'm fine. We'll talk about the healing after we reach the headquarters. All right. The agent nodded and focused on driving. Yin Xiaoxi suddenly said, there should be a tunnel in front. Slow down. Gongsun Shiyu has accomplices outside. If they want to save you, they might choose to do it here. You have to be careful. Hearing Section Chief Yan's words, the agent subconsciously looked over. However, the moment he moved his gaze, a sharp dagger had already pierced into the agent's chest. Section Chief, you. The agent who was driving looked at Section Chief Yan in disbelief. His hands clenched tightly onto the hand that was holding the dagger that stabbed into his chest. Didn't I say that if Gong Sun Shiyu's accomplices want to kidnap you, they might choose to do it here? I told you to be careful, Yin Xiaoxi said expressionlessly. As Yin Xiaoxi spoke, she twisted the dagger, and the agent who was driving stopped breathing. At this moment, Yin Xiaoxi adjusted the armored vehicle to autopilot mode and opened the door to the back cabin. The three felons were still unconscious. Yin Xiaoxi quickly arrived in front of Gong Sun Shiyu. Then, a cold glint flashed across her eyes, and the dagger in her hand went for Gong Sun Shiyu's neck without hesitation. In that instant, Gong Sun Shiyu suddenly opened his eyes. With lightning speed, he used 2 fingers to clamp down on the sharp dagger. Yin Xiaoxi was shocked. However, Gong Sun Shiyu said in a cold voice, "You dare to kill me? It's Master Shi Sui's order. You're not Gong Sun Shiyu." Yin Xiaoxi was shocked again. In her shock, her murderous intent exploded. Unexpectedly, Huang Chuan, who was in a coma, also got up at the same time and punched Yin Xiaoxi's back. The punch was extremely powerful. After taking the hit, Yin Xiaoxi's spine broke. He let out a blood-curdling scream and instantly fell to his knees, coughing up blood. "You!" Yin Xiaoxi was terrified. "We've been tricked. Who are you?" "I'm the one asking who you are." Gong Sun Shiyu tore his face apart and said calmly, "Why did you impersonate me?" "Yin Xiaoxi." At this moment, Yin Xiaoxi looked at the real disciple of Fire Cloud, Evil God, in front of her in disbelief. She seemed to have understood something and was both shocked and furious. The Yin Xiaoxi who was locked up in the command center was an impersonator from the beginning. Although I don't know the real purpose of your people impersonating me and entering the venue yesterday, Yin Xiaoxi's face was expressionless. Yin Xiaoxi, who had regained her original appearance, said expressionlessly, "But since you've already abducted her, why didn't you do a thorough check? I'm starting to doubt your meticulousness." "Damn it." Yin Xiaoxi gritted his teeth and threw a punch at the real Yin Xiaoxi as if she wanted to die together with him. However, this punch was nailed to the deck of the armored vehicle by a long spear. He screamed once again. He saw that the one who attacked was Huang Chuan. He saw that Huang Chuan had torn his face apart, and he saw that it was the god-petrifying spear Tu Kai, a young man who wasn't part of the administration, but was one of the direct disciples of Fire Cloud, Evil God. "I miscalculated." Yin Xiaoxi laughed bitterly. Then, her eyes narrowed, and she lowered her head. Tu Kai frowned and reached out to check. Then, he shook his head and said, "This guy is quite stubborn. He broke his own heart meridian and died." Yin Xiaoxi frowned. Then, she tore open the impersonator's face and saw his real face. Tu Kai leaned over and asked curiously, "Who is this?" "He's a high-ranking agent in the administration." Yin Xiaoxi's frown deepened. "But he's not from the demon clan. He's an orphan who was sent to the Dao sect to be groomed since he was young. The situation doesn't look good." "You mean?" Tu Kai thought for a while and said, "Gong Sun Shiyu and the people behind him have not only infiltrated the demon clan, but also the Dao sect. I hope it's just a special case." Yin Xiaoxi shook her head and went to the driver's seat. She looked at the agent who had collapsed in the driver's seat. Then, she suddenly reached out and took out a talisman from the agent's back. Suddenly, the dead agent's body turned into a pile of mud. "Ghost Baby, stop the car first. We just killed one of Gong Sun Shiyu's accomplices." "What did you say?" After the convoy drove out of the tunnel, Ghost Baby couldn't help but frown. He watched Yin Xiaoxi get off the armored vehicle and the situation that he had already learned. "You guys really know how to substitute one person for another, huh?" Ghost Baby couldn't help but scoff. "The substitute White Tiger Clan leader is real," Yin Xiaoxi said calmly. "The real Gong Sun Shiyu and Huang Chuan have already been sent away in another direction. They should be on the plane heading to Capital City now. We're only doing this for safety reasons." Ghost Child sneered and said nothing. However, at this moment, Yin Xiaoxi's phone rang. His expression changed as soon as he picked it up. "Junior brother, what's the situation?" Tu Kai asked with a frown. Yin Xiaoxi said in a deep voice, "The plane that was used to escort Gong Sun Shiyu and Huang Chuan has exploded in the sky. None of them survived." "What?" Tu Kai exclaimed in shock. At this time, Ghost Child said darkly. Section Chief Yin, as long as Gongsun Shiyu has not been convicted, he is still a member of the Xian Yuan Palace. Even if he is guilty of a capital crime, it should be the Xian Yuan Palace who executes him. Your protection is truly shocking. Ghost Baby, if you want to fight, I'm more than happy to oblige. Tu Kai immediately stabbed the spear in his hand into the ground. At the same time, 4 flying daggers that glinted coldly floated around Ghost Baby. He took one of the daggers, which flashed like lightning. Gongsun Ji Shui, Yin Xiaoxi suddenly said. Ghost Baby frowned and asked, What did you say? Yin Xiaoxi said, When we killed this guy, he mentioned Gongsun Ji Shui. He's from the Gongsun family, so he's from the Xianyuan Palace too, right? What's his identity? Ghost Baby pondered for a moment and slowly put away the flying daggers. He frowned and said, He's Gongsun Shiyu's follower. Although he's Gongsun Shiyu's follower, they grew up together. Gongsun Shui was actually selected by the branch family of the Gongsun family. When necessary, he can be used as a substitute for the master of the branch family. Gongsun Shui has always been loyal to Gongsun Shiyu, so it's impossible for him to kill his own master. Yin Xiaoxi said calmly, I heard that you're the last member of the Blood River Netherworld Ghost Clan. Summoning souls shouldn't be a problem for you. This guy just died not long ago. If you don't believe me, you can ask him yourself. No need. Ghost Baby waved his hand and said, Since Gongsun Shiyu is dead, I won't play with you anymore. Goodbye. Chapter 1970. It was steaming hot, and the old air conditioner was buzzing. Inside the rented apartment, the table was filled with simple ingredients that could be bought in small supermarkets. The most expensive one was probably a box of beef rolls for hot pot, at special price. You're welcome. Eat more. There's enough white rice. Nan Xiaonan said straightforwardly. She took the initiative to boil 2 meatballs and put them in the disposable plastic bowl in front of Bei Bei. Then, she picked up a piece of lettuce for Mr. Jean. He was really warm and hospitable. Eat. Why are you looking at me? Nan Xiaonan was eating the beef rolls that had been boiled for 10 seconds. You're welcome. I made a lot of white rice. Bei Bei looked at Mr. Jean. She was called out by Mr. Jean at the last minute. She didn't expect that it was to come to Nan Xiaonan's rented apartment to eat hot pot. Bei Bei couldn't help but feel a little puzzled as he looked at Mr. Jean. He saw that Mr. Jean didn't have much of an expression at this moment, and he didn't move his bowl and chopsticks. He sat there rather silently. Suddenly, Mr. Jean stood up and walked into the washroom. Taking advantage of this time, Nan Xiaonan slurped down her food and asked curiously, When your boss doesn't speak, he looks like he can scare people to death. It's like the whole world owes him money. Mr. Jean is actually a very nice person. Bei Bei hurriedly said, It's just that he doesn't like to talk most of the time. Nan Xiaonan shrugged. Then, she casually chatted with Bei Bei about some random things. After a while, Mr. Jean walked out of the bathroom and said directly, I have something to do, so I have to go back to the shop. Bei Bei, you can finish eating before you go back. Okay, boss. You're leaving now? Do you want me to get you a piece of corn? It's big and thick and it's sweet. It'll be quick. Nan Xiaonan said quickly. No need. Mr. Jean said indifferently, Eat happily. Then, he pushed open the door and left without looking back. Nan Xiaonan didn't mind and continued to chat with Bei Bei. It was only when the curfew was about to arrive that Bei Bei hurriedly left. After a while, Nan Xiaonan walked into the bathroom of the rented apartment. She went to the side of the second-hand laundry machine and touched the base of the machine. There should have been a listening device installed here, but it could no longer be found. Mr. Jean must have secretly removed it just now. In other words, I have already reached the initial level. Nan Xiaonan muttered. It actually took 2 days. Sigh. It seems that my power has regressed a lot. With that said, Nan Xiaonan quickly walked to the bedside and opened the cabinet. Then, she took out the Barbie doll, whose mouth was sealed with a Band-Aid, and threw it on the messy table. Pack up. She basically used star creation creatures in this way. Everything was used to serve it, and there were all kinds of functions. Therefore, this witch of the other world's academic school directly lay on the bed, peacefully planning to be a salted fish. The number of registrations on the black card website is about to exceed 50 million? Nan Xiaonan sat up and browsed the information on the Black Card website. There were 50 million people registered online. Wouldn't that easily break the 100 million mark after the summit? However, even though there were 50 million registrations, there was no information about the 99 black cards scattered all over the world. It seemed that it wasn't easy to dig out the black cards that Boss Luo had scattered all over the world. Among these registered members, there are probably people from all the transcendents, Nan Xiaonan muttered, and then began to look at other gossips. She found that although the Black Card website was called the Black Card website, and there were indeed many people here trying to find out information about the black cards, the registered members on the website shared and talked about the transcendence the most. The founder of the website is, finally, after continuous digging, Nan Xiaonan found some information about the website itself. The Eva of the new era. Eva? The only and highest administrator. When Bei Bei returned to the second-hand electrical appliance shop, Mr. Kim was sitting alone in front of the shop counter, repairing an antique atomic radio. You took away the things in Lady Nan's house. Bei Bei leaned on the counter and asked curiously as he watched Mr. Kim repair the radio. Didn't you already guess? Mr. Kim didn't even raise his head. Guess is guess. I want to hear you admit it yourself. Bei Bei smiled and said, she took away the things so quickly. She suddenly invited us to dinner tonight, and you even agreed to bring me along. Boss, many things happen during the day. Mr. Kim said indifferently, we have things to do anyway. Since there's no threat, there's naturally no need to waste time on irrelevant people. Oh, irrelevant people. Bei Bei immediately narrowed his eyes. Then he smiled and said, that's right. No matter how I look at it, this Miss Nan is just a greedy woman, an ordinary person who has nothing to do with this. Very empty? Mr. Kim raised his head. Bei Bei immediately stuck out his tongue. Mr. Jean immediately threw something to Bei Bei. Send it to the address written on it tomorrow. What's this? Bei Bei looked at it curiously. It was a package that had already been packed and was about the size of a box of mooncakes. You'll know later, Mr. Kim said indifferently. Bei Bei shrugged. After putting the package away, he returned to his room, but there weren't many things that a girl of his age should have in her room. There were many training tools in the room. Not long after, Bei Bei wrapped iron weights around his feet, grabbed the door frame, and started to do pull-ups. In an indoor billiard room, Officer Ma, Yi Yin, Igor, and a skinny man were facing a group of energetic young men. Pretty miserable, Officer Ma thought silently. Even though he was used to seeing street gangsters fighting each other, Ma Hao'd still looked at the miserable situation of the golden retriever in front of him with concern. Most of the golden retriever's body was wrapped in gauze. His left hand was obviously fractured, so he could only put a plaster on his neck. As for his face couldn't be seen anymore. Snake Boy Ming, you didn't say you'd bring the police. The pig-headed, golden-haired youth furrowed his brows at this moment, but it immediately affected his injuries, and he gasped for cold air. Do you know me? Ma Hao asked curiously. The golden retriever sneered. In this city, who doesn't know you, Officer Ma? Why? I'm a law-abiding citizen. There's nothing for you to find me for. Ma Hao said indifferently. I heard that you were beaten up by only one person. Look, is it this guy? Officer Ma showed him the photo that Yi Yin had given him. The golden retriever just glanced at it, then turned his head and said quickly, I don't know him. I heard from Snake Boy that you've been looking for this guy for the past 2 days. If you don't know him, why are you looking for him? Officer Ma said coldly. Officer, I'm very cooperative, but I really don't know him. If I don't know him, then I don't know him. What can I do? The golden retriever rolled his eyes and said, Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, let's go. Otherwise, if I can't go home during the curfew, you'll be blamed for it. You've got guts. You know who I am, but you're still so enthusiastic. Officer Ma sneered at this time and began to pinch his sleeves. The golden retriever's face changed slightly, but he frowned and said, Officer Ma, there are many eyes here. What do you want to do? Everyone here knows you. Ma Hao shrugged and was about to go forward, but his arm was suddenly pressed down by Yi Yin. When Ma Hao was about to be confused, Yi gently shook his head at him. Then Yi directly stood in front of the golden retriever. Do you know me? You. The golden retriever carefully looked at him, then frowned and said, Who are you? What do you want? It's right that you don't know me. Yi showed a bright smile at this time, then grabbed the golden retriever's collar with one hand and pinched his arm with the other, half lifting and half pushing him away. Let's go inside and get to know each other. Wait, what do you want to do? I'm telling you, I can complain about you. Let go of me. Let go. A group of energetic guys saw the golden retriever being dragged inside, so they all came forward. But they saw Yelgo take a deep breath at this time, directly blocking their way, and began to unbutton his shirt one by one. Yelgo didn't do anything at this time, but just took a breath and then tightened his muscles. Come on, show me. The energetic guys all swallowed their saliva. Then the billiard room suddenly became lively. The energetic guys all started to play billiards. Sir Ma, is there any problem with your friend? Snake Ziming, who led the way at this time, said hesitantly at this time. The sound of screams came from inside in a flash. Ma Hao just glanced at the curtains inside the room, suddenly picked up a cue. It should be enough for us to play one round. Come on, Snake Ziming, I'll give you 2 chances. Officer Ma, don't fool me. Who doesn't know that you're the best marksman in this situation? I just want to earn some money for milk powder. Do you want to save it? I won't give you money. Ma Hao rolled his eyes and then suddenly said, There's one more thing. I'm looking for you today. You can't tell Xiling about this matter, or I'll invite you to the bureau to eat fish and meat for 2 days. Well said, well said. For the sake of money. Sir Ma said 1 round, and it really only took 1 round. The door inside opened. Yi patted the dust on his sleeves and walked out with a smile. What did you ask? Sir Ma came forward and asked. Let's talk while walking. Yi said directly, I know how to lure Mr. Jean out if there's no accident, but we need to prepare well. Ma Hao nodded and then glanced at the room inside, suddenly whispering, Is it too much? I've been complained about a lot recently. Yi chuckled, patting old Ma's shoulder. What's the saying? Too much debt won't burden you. Anyway, you don't plan to be promoted. But I don't want to be demoted. Yi patted old Ma's shoulder again, vigorously. On a small island in the distant sea, at this time, dark clouds were dense, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. In the huge lightning flashing, there seemed to be a small figure. The people living on the island, at this time, looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky and showed a frightened look. Finally, the small figure that was hidden in the thunderclouds slowly descended. It landed on the other side of the mountain where the islanders lived. It seemed to be a little girl in a black dress. The residents on the island suddenly panicked, because on the other side of the mountain, there was heaven. Only the most devout believers could be selected by God and get the opportunity to serve God in heaven. Suddenly, a huge bolt of lightning shot down crazily from the side of the little girl who had landed and directly entered the other side of the mountain. Following that, the earth and mountains shook. Devil! It's the devil! The devil came to invade our heaven. They screamed in horror, but their voices were soon drowned out by the continuous thunder and lightning that bombarded the earth. On the other side of the mountain, the thunder continued, and the earth had been blasted by the falling lightning. The surface had become scorched earth, but soon, from the potholes, something buried underground was exposed. Metal floor. On the other side of the mountain, the ground was this kind of solid metal. At this time, the metal floor opened one after another, and then heavy artillery began to be pushed out, pointing at the girl in the black dress in the sky. At the same time, a large number of fully armed soldiers in white special combat suits rushed out from various passages. You dare to provoke me, so you must know my strength. And you want to use these toys to deal with me. Who do you think you're looking down on? The girl in the black dress sneered. Her voice spread to the other side of the mountain at the same time. Then, the girl in the black dress raised her arm. A huge blood-red light, at this time, rushed from the girl's raised arm to the sky, and the flashing blood-red light instantly turned into a huge blood claw. It suddenly clawed down and instantly tore several terrible cracks on the ground. On the ground, A large number of soldiers in white special combat suits fell in a pool of blood, and a lot of heavy artillery was destroyed in an instant. The girl in the black dress was expressionless, but she raised her arm again and condensed a huge blood claw here. But at this time, the blood-red light seemed to be disturbed by something. After a while of distortion, it failed to condense. The girl in the black dress frowned. At this time, a voice slowly came. "Hello, Your Royal Highness of the Xianyuan royal family." The girl in the black dress. Su Zijuan turned her head and saw a young man with heterochromatic eyes standing behind her. At this time, the young man was holding a small wooden plate. On the wooden plate, there were a few pieces of bread. "Hello, I'm the fool," the young man said with a smile. "This is freshly baked bread. Your Royal Highness. Do you want to taste it?" "You came out so quickly," the biggest one. Su Zijuan's eyes narrowed, and she sneered. "Well, it saves my time." After that, Su Zijuan directly pulled out a blood-red long sword from her palm, and without saying anything, she slashed at the young man with heterochromatic eyes. Chapter 1971. In the sky above Paradise Island, the blood-red sword light was like a laser beam, easily slicing through Hai Ping's face. However, it was unable to touch the young man with blue-brown eyes. "You are quite good at dodging." Su Zijuan suddenly stopped and said with a smile of disdain, "No wonder this stupid club is so tolerant. After I destroyed so many of their branches, they still didn't do anything. It seems like it has something to do with the source." The young man with multicolored eyes smiled and said, "If it can calm down the princess of the Xianyuan royal family, I could destroy more branches." Su Zijuan sneered and said, "I can probably calm down after I destroy your branch as well." "That works too," the young man with multicolored eyes said coldly. Su Zijuan was stunned. The young man with multicolored eyes said calmly, "However, I have to evacuate the people on Paradise Island first. After one day, if you want to sink this island or tear it apart, it is up to you. I think it is a waste of time." Su Zijuan shook her head and reached out with her hand. She grabbed a lightning bolt from the thunderclouds and threw it into the blood-red sword in her hand. Instantly, the blood-red sword shone brightly. Blood-red flames and lightning flames appeared on the blood-red sword at the same time. The sword suddenly became more than 10 meters long. The young man with multicolored eyes. The fool sized her up and said, "It seems like the princess's power has increased a lot. After all, you have provided me with food along the way." Su Zijuan sneered and released the power of the blood-red lightning flame sword. The seawater around Paradise Island started to surge. The fool said calmly, "The princess didn't eat much when she was still in Kelowna. However, after leaving Kelowna, she ate as much as she wanted. Drought demons and vampires really share the same origin. The more blood they drink, the more power they accumulate. Back in the Divine Land, your highness was malnourished, wasn't it? Otherwise, the divine generals of my club wouldn't have hurt you so easily. You know quite a lot." Su Zijuan suddenly narrowed her eyes. Logically speaking, the fact that she had been malnourished in Kelowna shouldn't be known by too many people. Those who knew were basically the core members of the Xianyuan Palace. "I've been observing. Most of the time, it's for the sake of observation." The fool smiled and said, "Legend has it that the wrath of Hanba, one of the corpse ancestors, can turn 1,000 miles into scorched earth. I'm also interested in experiencing it. I'll let you experience it." Su Zijuan's cold smile disappeared. In an instant, the entire Paradise Island was engulfed in blood-red flames. The high temperature instantly evaporated the sea, and an endless amount of water vapor shrouded the entire Paradise Island. At that moment, Su Zijuan pierced her sword into the heart of the fool in the midst of the boiling white fog. Seeing that the blood-red lightning fire sword was about to pierce through the fool's chest, Su Zijuan suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. The fool made his move. He pointed his finger at the tip of the blood-red lightning fire sword. Something opened from the fool's fingertip, and it looked like a mirror. Then, the mirror suddenly shattered. Su Zijuan was shocked. Along with the shattering of the mirror, her sword of thunder and fire was also shattered. It was the space. It was a small-scale space shattering. The princess of the Xinyuan royal family immediately let go of the blood-red, lightning fire sword in her hand and moved back a dozen steps. Very powerful. The fool rubbed his fingertip. But it seems like the princess is still restraining herself and didn't completely let go of her appetite. It seems like the food doesn't suit your taste. Su Zijuan didn't say a word. She just sized up, or rather calculated. The fool said calmly, I roughly know the limit of your power in this world. Why don't you let me see the true power hidden in the princess body? Su Zijuan suddenly laughed coldly. Then, she suddenly dove into Paradise Island. She raised her head and roared. Those white-clothed warriors on the surface of Paradise Island, whether they were still able to move or injured, all exploded. The blood that gushed out instantly turned into a blood-red tornado. At this moment, Su Zijuan opened her mouth, and that huge blood-red tornado directly rushed into her mouth. Since you asked me to let go of my appetite, I won't hold back. After the blood-red fog was completely swallowed, Su Zijuan's eyes instantly turned blood-red. The blood-red energy even covered her body with a blood-red robe. Su Zijuan waved her hand. A stream of blood shot out from her fingertip and turned into a huge blood-red axe. Her surging power instantly increased by a lot. The fool said calmly, if the princess continues to eat without limit, it will be very dangerous. But I'm afraid the princess won't be able to bear it. You'd better use your true power. Jojo, Xinyuan, the power of the god-killing sword. I still want to experience it. After all, this is the only special product that exists in this world. At this moment, the blood-red axe suddenly appeared in front of the young man with heterochromatic eyes. At this moment, Su Zijuan had already crossed the distance between them. It was as if she had directly traveled through space. When the blood-red axe was close to his forehead, the fool's eyes narrowed. The blood-red axe chopped down and instantly split the fool's body in half. However, Su Zijuan frowned at this moment. She didn't feel anything. Instead, at this moment, Su Zijuan felt something extra in her mouth. Bread. Does it taste good? I baked it myself. At the same time, the fool's voice came from behind her. Su Zijuan's face turned cold. She instantly turned around with the axe in her hand, but at this moment, the fool pointed his finger again. Su Zijuan felt like her whole body was pulled into a narrow, different space. Then, the narrow, different space directly shattered, and instantly, countless terrifying, tearing forces began to tear her body apart. Bang! The sound of a mirror shattering sounded. Su Zijuan's body instantly fell. Her body was full of wounds. She finally hit her head on the scorched earth. Bang! She struggled to open her body. There were hundreds of tiny cracks on her arms at this time. These cracks were healing under the effect of the powerful drought demon's physique. But it was unusually slow. The foreign force left in the wounds was preventing her from healing. The blood-red light in Su Zijuan's eyes disappeared and returned to the ordinary black eyes. A slight sound of falling to the ground came. She looked up and saw the fool standing not far in front of her. Su Zijuan suddenly chuckled. The fool asked curiously, Your Highness, is there something dirty on my face? Su Zijuan laughed. After laughing, she struggled to stand up. I didn't expect that there was a guy like you in this world. That dragon is probably half as strong as you. The fool shook his head. As far as I know, as long as I'm in Kelowna, I'll definitely lose. Because it's not only the power of the earth, but also the power of the belief of the largest race in this world. Unless this race disappears and that land also dries up. Your idea is very dangerous. Su Zijuan sighed slowly, but she seemed to be a little hesitant. The fool said indifferently, Since your Highness doesn't want to draw out your god-killing sword, then your Highness, please stay in the club for the next time. You want to see my hidden power, don't you? Su Zijuan said coldly. The fool said expectantly, After all, it's difficult for the club to enter Kelowna if there's nothing special, let alone explore one of the top powers in Kelowna. I'll fulfill your wish, Su Zijuan suddenly said with an expressionless face. Then, she closed her eyes and stood motionless in the same place. The fool waited quietly and whispered, "It said that this is the godly sword of Kelowna. I wonder how much power it can use after leaving Kelowna." After a while, Su Zijuan suddenly opened her eyes and smiled. "Well, here's what you want to see." Su Zijuan's hands were empty, and she didn't even use the remaining power. She just stood there like an ordinary, injured little girl. There was no god-killing sword at all. But Su Zijuan was smiling with squinted eyes. The fool frowned as if he had sensed something. He turned around and saw a man wearing a clown mask. "For ancient tombs, beat this bastard until he cries." The princess of the Xianyuan royal family snorted, "Go, profiteer beast. Do you really think Su Zijuan wants to summon the god-killing sword? Wrong. She wants to summon the boss Luo of the shop. I, Su Zijuan, am rich. Super rich." The fool opened his mouth slightly, and his heterochromatic pupils contracted violently. Then he moved his shoulders, and the space fluctuated. However, with just a slight movement, the fool's body was instantly pressed into the ground as if countless gravity magic spells had superimposed on it. His body was buried so deep that he couldn't even lift his head. "Miss Zijuan, I didn't agree to this deal." The clown mask. Boss Luo said calmly. "4 tombs aren't enough. I'll add 2 more." The princess snorted. "I'm rich." Boss Luo couldn't say anything. So far, Su Zijuan was his biggest financial backer, not counting the potential ones. "If you want to make this gentleman cry, I'm afraid that emptying your inventory won't be enough." Boss Luo suddenly reminded. "Even before his soul disappears, this gentleman won't cry." "That's a dog." Su Zijuan's eyes widened. She pursed her lips and pointed. "Then I'll cripple him. I'll kill the rest myself." "That's easy, but this one—" Boss Luo smiled casually. 6 tombs, just enough." As he spoke, the fool, who was pressed into the ground, was pulled out of the ground. The fool's face was stained with dirt, but he didn't panic. He even asked curiously, "If I cry now, will this deal be considered complete?" Boss Luo said calmly, "I'm afraid that you'll have to confirm with Miss Zijuan. After all, she's the buyer. We, of course, will respect the customer's first wish." "I see." The fool nodded and suddenly smiled. "I've gained a lot today. At the very least, I've experienced this power that I can't resist at all. I'll give my life to you as a gift for our first meeting." Then, under Su Zijuan's incredulous gaze, the fool's body shattered bit by bit. In the end, nothing was left. Su Zijuan was furious. "Profiteer, didn't I say that I'll kill the last one? I won't pay more." "I'm afraid." Boss Luo shook his head and said, "I'm going to refund you, Miss Zijuan. He chose to self-destruct. I didn't do anything." "He did it himself?" Su Zijuan opened her mouth. "Why is he so stubborn?" "If there's nothing else, I'll go back, Miss Zijuan." Boss Luo suddenly said, "All right, if there's a similar request next time, please inform me in advance. I've just changed my clothes, and I'm going to sleep." "TSK." Su Zijuan turned her head and stomped her feet as if she was venting her anger. Instantly, the surface of Paradise Island trembled. Su Zijuan didn't stop stomping her feet. She stomped on the ground again and again, causing the ground to shake even more violently. Boss Luo suddenly said, "There's no one down there anymore. Miss Zijuan, are you planning to bury this place?" "No one. I think they've all moved away before you came." Boss Luo smiled and said. Rich Su Zijuan said without hesitation, "Where did they move to? How much is it? I'll pay." Boss Luo thought for a while and said, "Currently, all the seats in the clubhouse are moving with their subordinates. There's no fixed location. They're moving separately. Of course, I can predict where they'll end up, but Miss Zijuan will have to pay an extra prediction fee." "How much?" "Since it's a peek into the future, 3 ancient tombs per seat. Since Miss Zijuan is a regular customer, this is the most honest price I can offer," Boss Luo said seriously. Su Zijuan opened her hands and counted her fingers. There were 26 seats in a clubhouse. Excluding the fool who just self-destructed, there were still 25 of them. How many tombs was 25 multiplied by 3? The princess of the Xianyuan royal family looked at her toes subconsciously. After a while, her expression changed slightly. She snorted and said, "Forget it. There's no point in crippling them in one go. I'll just play with this clubhouse slowly. I want a list of the real identities of all the people in the 26 seats. Is that okay?" Since she had already started spending money, it didn't matter. Su Zijuan was different from Long Shura in this aspect. She obviously wanted to spend all the money in the Xianyuan royal family. Boss Luo left. After he left, a list of names floated in front of Su Zijuan. The princess of the Xianyuan royal family glanced at it and frowned. Gong Sun Shiyu. Damn you.